Better leave it to the professionals.
Blessed by Bungie, blah, blah, blah.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been golden when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her Era Lord. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock, and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the
Started off with a
blockchain.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. Reviews not falling for the FOMO. Listening to coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum entities. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I got a shout out
Started
to
off with a
Bode.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Breaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in shoes. Yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, miny, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. Had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. Had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the drive with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin, where we dive into all things crypto, NFTs, Web3, and cutting-edge technology. Remember, nothing here is financial advice. Early-stage tech can be exceptionally volatile and risky. So grab your coffee and join Cap and Steve for today's conversation.
Welcome to the future.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain, GM. Thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't done so, do us a favor, drop us a GM in the chat down below. Head up top, smash that like, repost, and bookmark on today's space. If you've already dropped a GM on the space, head over to Abstract, head over to YouTube. The X video feed is also live. We'll get that pinned up top here in a second or two. Shout out to our YouTubers over there, RDL and Hizzy. I see you in the chat. RDL winning the GM game with X video and YouTube streets. And I'll probably look here in a second and be in the X spaces chat. As always, I'm Captain. I'm my co-host, Steve. Never any financial advice on this show, especially on Black Monday here as markets melt down across the globe. Please don't follow us for any financial advice. Know that we are not advisors. Rather, hope you join us for some information, some education, maybe some sanity today to keep your focus on things other than charts. But know that we also hold tokens we'll likely talk about from time to time, including those going to zero. But again, just join us for the fun, the education, some information along the way. With that out of the way now, GM Steve, how you doing, sir?
GM. Uneasy. I'm uneasy. I'm an empath, so I think about how people are handling the markets, myself included, but always like a little bit uneasy, focusing on things I can control. Do us a favor, as Cap mentioned, give us a like or retweet, a comment on the space, especially. I know it's a good way to reach people. Thanks everyone in the Abstract chat there, Teacher Katie, Mesh, Be Epic, Diablito, all the crew heading over there, over in the chat, the bright and early folks, Dobbins, Diablito, Bordo Saka across all the chats, Screenwriter Dave, Shimmy, Aspiring Nobody, Hizzy, across many chats. Wajda, good to see you out there. I hope your abs are weathering the upcoming recession well. Opportunist, Dort, Big Bear, Chief, Clay, Das Scrub, Kazi, Digital Dad, Brick It all the good friends out there. And of course, we already hit some of the YouTube ones that were on here. And no, just kind of like getting through. I mean, trying my best to just get through and just like do the normal stuff. Like I said, I feel people's pain, especially because we're entering a very uncertain time for a lot of folks. And had a relatively normal weekend. It's just it's like this is sort of this time when it's like it hasn't gotten bad yet. I think everyone's still in shock. We had, I think it was like, I don't know, someone have to correct me on this, the worst non-wartime crash on Thursday. That was usurped by the worst non-wartime crash on Friday. And we're probably getting another day.
Not by this morning's crash, Steve. Brace yourselves.
So yeah, so we're hitting something. So I think I almost think there's a lot of people who are still in a state of shock. And I think the pain comes where we'll talk into kind of we'll get into it a little bit. Well, let's cold open for a minute before we get into it. Cause I think there's the discussions of what do you do in this market? What are the plans? And then how do you sort of weather the storm and what are the potential outcomes we see here? But, I do want to get a unrelated topic. Well, two unrelated topics. One, I took my kids to see Minecraft this weekend and found out that meme culture is very strong with the kids. I don't think it will translate into meme coins, but during the movie, there were 3 times that the crowd erupted in cheers and claps in a movie theater, which you don't see very often. And I assumed to my kids, oh, okay, these are times that are particularly noteworthy to Minecraft fans. So it was an OG moment, sort of if you know, and these kids are Minecrafters. No. The 3 moments they went nuts were all viral memes that they shared around. There's this chicken jockey meme that apparently was going around with the kids. I'd never seen it because I'm an old and they're young.
They memes?
What's that?
Where are they seeing these memes if it's not in Minecraft? Where they?
No, they're from Minecraft. They're memes from the movie. So one of the movie memes had a zombie on a jockey and Jack Black yells chicken jockey. And apparently this passed around to all the kids and all the group chats and all the things. Not on crypto Twitter and not in our world, but they passed around that. And there was another meme with Flint and something else. They opened a portal to the netherworld, which is their underworld. And I assumed everyone cheered because oh, okay, this is the new part of the movie and they're excited to see this part of the game. No. There's something with the Flint and the thing that they did that was memes. And so my kids explained to me the 3 cheers were memes that went around, videos, probably TikTok, YouTube, things like that. Mr. Beast had a chicken jockey meme. Apparently that went pretty big. So I Am Steve was another one that was pretty big that they talked about, which works well for me to make my kids roll their eyes. So I don't know. It was an interesting observation. I don't think it translates to meme coins, which is I think what everyone in the space wants because they want kids their exit liquidity. But I will say that it was certainly interesting to see that. So not really a comment, just a commentary on kids love the memes and how kids translate and talk about things. That's fascinating to me. A major box office opening would have people most excited and cheering when the memes happen. But cute movie, good movie. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and I don't know if you've experienced this as well. I started playing NCAA online.
I've not played it online. No, I am just I'm powering through the markets by I just the money printer's on for me. So I'm all in on MLB. 12 slates in a row. I can't remember last time I hit on 12 consecutive DFS slates. It is by definition, money pretty season in the underdog best ball battle royale, not best ball, but underdog battle royale slate by slate. And when you're sometimes when you're on a heater, you just don't step off the gas. So I can't stop playing until I hit a losing streak because you don't mess with this kind of mojo. So my head is truly down, and that's how I'm escaping the markets is gambling degenerately. And turning in taking those gains in right now USD dollars in my underdog account. But this is our future. In all seriousness, I think we see it in PayPal and Venmo and all the money moving apps. I think there's a world in the future where we see any type of accounts, and my head leans to DFS and sports books and underdog and stuff like that, where you keep a you keep somewhat of a balance. I usually don't keep a lot of balance on these sites. I'll usually cash out and then redeposit as within my bankroll strategy. But I think there'll be option to. I think we'll see trading proliferate, all these trading / investing, whatever you want to call it. I think as we start seeing more, not just stable coins, but more of these connected apps turning on trading, I think it works its way into the gambling arena too. Thoughts on that?
I don't know. Maybe. I'm not sure if I think there's going to require. I mean, it makes sense to a degree, but I think that is a slippery slope, because then you're going to have a much deeper sort of KYC process, right? Because kids have.
You have to today anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. I like
honestly creating an account on Underdog is probably more difficult than creating an account on Coinbase right now.
Yeah, I imagine that would be the case. I don't know. I don't know that. I'll be curious. I don't know that I know gambling's become part of this cultural phenomenon.
I do not know this because I maxed out my best ball drafts and have attempted to create an account under my daughter's name. I did not do that. It's purely hypothetical. I don't know this for a fact, but that's what I've been told. It's hard.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure that it's I'm not sure that
prediction markets. That's a good call by eBreak. I think we're gonna just no joke. And this, I didn't verify it, so it could have been a shit post. But I saw on the timeline a screenshot of a JP Morgan Chase job posting for an analyst. Their role was to basically analyze and understand markets for emerging trends. I think this world of betting is going to infiltrate our almost everywhere our digital connected lives merge.
Yeah, I think that's two separate things though, because I think on one hand, analyzing sentiment on markets because it was correct about things like the election, it was correct because it was
different things. But I think they kind of dovetail together.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think are we really going to see? I don't know. Are we really going to see markets where people I guess are we really going to see is your thoughts that Venmo and PayPal are going to get into the gambling business? I'm trying to track the.
No, not really. I think the gambling companies are going to get into the same business that PayPal and Venmo and all these others have got in.
So you custody your funds on there if you really want to. You use it to say, "Oh, I'm sending my gambling." It's probably
a bad example because people aren't looking to. I mean, actually, maybe the best example where markets are down. I did also hear that Thursday was the highest amount of retail stock volume in as far as TradFi in a long time. I don't. Very bad quote here because I don't know the specifics, but basically, because of this is kind of where my there's just so much more access now. That used to be you had to have a broker, and now it's a number of online apps. As soon as you create the account, you can buy anywhere. I think more of that is going to work its way into these gambling accounts where I can withdraw. There's no hold, there's no staking period. I can pull my funds out at any time. But my habits, Steve, I find I've been on a heater in Underdog. I've not withdrawn those funds. I've just increased my volume. And I'm sitting on my bankroll in play is larger, so I'm taking bigger shots now. While I said I maxed out I didn't max out the $10 big board in little board. There's a $100 and a $250 entry that I had a couple bullets in, but now I'm going to max those out as well because I have more bankroll on the site than I was anticipating, more than I can get in play on a daily basis. Not that you should go in 100% anyways. My whole point being is, I don't know, if I could buy Bitcoin or ETH on there, I might put half my portfolio in because it's a dip. It's not worth it for me to off ramp into my bank account, then to on ramp into a trading site, and then buy it. And then when I want to tap into, I gotta sell it, off ramp it again, and put it back on the. I think that these are two adjacent industries, and I think they're getting closer and closer. Meaning sports betting, and I'm going to include DFS, best ball, everything sports gambling related. Prop bets, all that stuff, and crypto trading, stock trading, they're too close. I think the Venn diagram of users is there's a lot that overlap, and I've never bought crypto from PayPal or Venmo, but if I could from my Underdog account, I would.
So how does this sort of thing start? Does DraftKings acquire a like crypto exchange, like, because like I do think like there are, look, if you talk about people who are uniquely positioned to deal with the bullshit of all of the different, all of the different like regulatory like hurdles you jump through, gambling companies are certainly like, they're probably comfortable, especially as crypto becomes more clear, jumping in there. But like, how does that even begin, I guess, would be my question, right? Like,
could be an acquisition, or they could just do the thing. Like, I don't, especially with favorable stablecoin legislation coming, like I don't think they need to acquire anyone. Just like PayPal just created their PYSD. I just, like Ebrank says, perfect use for stablecoins. If I could stable my like right now my USD funds in Underdog, it's getting me 0, right? Not only does every dollar I put in play, Underdog's making, I don't know, presumably 4 or 5% on until the, well, in baseball they're paying it out end of day, but in these best ball drafts they're holding on to those funds until December. Not only that, any funds I have in my account, I'm earning 0 interest on, right? There's just, it's just sitting there. If I could swap that USD out for, I don't know, USD UD, Underdog USD, and I earn yield on it for keeping it, for locking up my liquidity in their protocol, 100% no brainer. I would, right? It's just like, and I think I'm not the only one who would do that. I don't know. What I don't know though is what that addressable market is. I don't know. Like I said, I don't keep a lot of money on these sites.
Well, they wouldn't call it crypto. Like, that's the thing. Like, this is why it's interesting. So I see where you're going with this now, because I was like trying to figure out this intertwining. And like you said, like my initial thought was like, okay, well, they both know how to deal with regulators. But the idea of like having a stablecoin option, I don't even think you call it USDC. You just say you can earn yield on your money. Here are the risks associated with it. Like, do you want to do that or not? And I think most people are going to opt into that. Like, option number 1, keep it here. Option number 2. But I mean, also, like, does that come with a staking? Obviously, like a staking mechanism that has to be pulled out. Probably not, obviously, for convenience. But yeah, if you're talking about like they find a way to, especially like to your point, like we have specific stablecoin positive sort of legislation that is coming forward, and or at least guidance, I should say, not legislation, to speak correctly. So if we've got that, like, yeah, why not integrate stablecoins into your platform and earn yield on that? And you could give a smaller percentage of the yield. Like, I mean, you could give like 2-3% of the yield and still, like sort of like a Coinbase level of yield. And then you keep the money there.
IKB did it with Glass Gold, right? And they're a hyper niche, probably one of the smaller fantasy sites out there. Why couldn't a Underdog or a DraftKings or FanDuel do the same thing?
Yeah, it's. I mean, and especially now, to your point, like, why couldn't they? Well, previously the answer would have been, regulations, the way crypto operates versus the way the traditional business world operates. But we're entering a whole new world of that. So I think, yes, I actually think that's an interesting observation I hadn't thought about. It's funny. I was just, now we're way out of cold open and we can actually get into like market stuff and whatever. Again, give us a like, a retweet, a comment on the room as we get started. Appreciate all the GMers out there in the chat. We're keeping an eye on all those different chats just to keep things going. But it's funny because I was actually starting off, like, it started off with the video games thing. I was just going to complain that gamers are soft because I'm 15-1. And up until yesterday, the only game that I had finished was the one that I lost because people quit in like kids these days, like, did not finish used to matter when I was a kid. Now everybody just soft and quits when I'm beating them. It's like 14-7 and they're like, well, I guess I'm going to pack it in. But this is a far more interesting conversation than the one I was going down. So I appreciate that. So
like, are you playing a season? And if just playing casual games?
I just play. It's called Road to the College Football Playoff, which is a dumb title to play online. Then you play online and you choose a team and you get matched up against a random opponent. And I kid you not, the other day it was 7-7 in the fourth quarter with like 2.5 minutes left. I get a turnover. I'm in field goal range, but they can stop me or whatever. Person's playing as Penn State. They quit because I got an interception and they're like, well, I guess they're probably going to score here. And I haven't been able to score on them. Or like, I go up by a touchdown. It was like, I go up 14-7 in like the second quarter on a player. I get an interception and it's like, I don't understand. And like, but like back in the day when you match up with people, there was a did not DNF percentage, a did not finish percentage. And like, if you did it, like, I would choose not to play anybody who quits more than 10% of the time.
These are soft. If you want to get on a real rant this morning, I can talk about how soft this younger generation is. But
so soft. Like, I mean, but like that aspect of it, like I was actually talking, I was, kind of going back and forth with Jonah in some replies, and it was like, it was insane. So I don't know. Like and then on Switch 2 takes, Blaze, I don't have any Switch 2 takes yet. I basically, at the moment, it looks like the same exact thing, but with magnetic controllers and slightly better graphics. So I'm just not, I'm not ready to make an educated comment about it. My son says there's a game he thinks for Switch 2 that he wants to play with me that I don't think he thinks he can get on the regular Switch. And based on that discussion, I'll probably end up with a Switch 2 because my son can win that discussion every single time. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's just like we won't stay on it too long. It's just your point about kids being soft these days, like or that thought, like that's the thought that crossed my mind. I'm like, how soft are these fucking kids that they like go down by like a single, score and they call it a day. Like it's just, and that's what happens. Like my wife watched 3 people quit on me in the first quarter because I scored and they didn't on their first drive. Like they go for it on like 4th and 20 in their own 10-yard line, and then they don't get it, and they're like, well, I guess we're gonna call it a day. So anyway, kids are soft. They play video games like assholes. And so it's a whole different ball game. But capital stock markets. And actually I do wonder if it's worth just starting off with the daily market update, just because I don't know if you're prepped to do that. I'll give you a second before I play the video, but probably makes sense to start with the daily market update and just get right into it, because I think like that's kind of the jumping off point for the whole conversation. That works?
Yeah, let's do
It's
it.
market update time. Let's set the play. Powered by Awaken, the smart tax way. From crypto flips to DeFi stacks. They keep it clean. Got your back. Grab your coffee. Let's break it down. Daily update right now.
Powered by Awaken, the best way to handle your crypto taxes with integrations across top exchanges and blockchains, plus AI-powered transaction labeling. Awaken makes tax season easy. From NFTs to DeFi to meme coins, Awaken has you covered. Get $50 off with code COFFEE at awaken.tax. That's $50 off when you use code COFFEE at awaken.tax. I actually was talking to my accountant this week about Awaken Tax. Was having a conversation with him related to, like different softwares, because I had used Coinly previously, and mentioned to him that I see Tebow, I see Riggs, I see other people talking about the fact that they think Awaken's just a superior software. He wasn't as familiar because it's a relatively new company, so I'm going to educate him on it and get him going, and maybe I'll have him use code COFFEE to set up, and who knows, maybe I can get him to use code COFFEE to set up his clients. We shall see, but will be an interesting one for sure. But he, educating my accountant on it this week, just because this weekend I'm probably going to end up having to do an extension, as always with taxes. And but yeah, you want to file your taxes, kids, and Awaken's going to help you do it. You don't want to do it wrong. There are, not really great softwares out there, and I keep hearing from people I respect, like I said, Tebow, Riggs, other people that from the timeline are using this thing. They're not paid by us or anything like that. They just literally use the discount code and signed up. So give it a check out if you are doing your taxes this season. It is not too late. Tax season about a week and a half away, so you want to make sure you're doing those right. Cap, let us know what's going on with the market. I have no idea.
Brace yourselves. Bitcoin down 7.25% to 76,727. ETH down 16.87%. Lost 1,500 down to 1,485. Did not think we would be able to buy ETH at $1,400 in the year of our Lord 2025. Yet here we are. XRP down 15%. My mother giving up all those gains down to $1.76. I say that, I think she was buying at like 50 cents, so she's still doing just fine. BNB down 8%. We've not depegged. If you're looking for a silver lining, Tether and USD still pegged to $1. Solana down 15%, about to hit double digits, Steve. 15% brings that down to $100 on the nose. Tron down 5%. Doge down 16%. We just got above $100.01. We're holding strong. Cardano down 50% to 54 cents, and it doesn't get much better, but it does get a little better looking at NFTs. Bored API Club down 4% to 13.67. Pudgy's down 8% to 8.73. Little's down 8%, still holding 1 ETH though. Mutants down 2% to 2.31. The Steady Teddy's had another run up. They're down 10% on the day, but up big on the week to 171.9. Unfortunately, I think Barra gave up down about 30%. So trading inverted to the native token. Miletes are normally, as normal, they are inverted to the market as well, turning flat at 2.94. Azuki 2.44 down 5%, Doodles 2.6 down 8%, Mochaverse down 16%, and other deeds holding flat at 0.16 with some decent volume. That is our daily market update brought to you by Awaken.tax. Use code coffee at Awaken.tax for $50 off. And other than that, unless you're preparing your taxes, probably a good, or buying, probably not a good day to spend too much time in the charts. But you tuned in, you got your daily dose here. Back to more maybe positive news, Steve.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess like the way I think about it, there is not a lot of positive news in the market. I mean, I saw something, a stat, I don't remember what the number was, but like, let me see if I can find the tweet. Actually, I'm going to find the tweet specifically because this is a perfect encapsulation of the market at the moment, which is the CryptoPunk, sort of here, I'll show right here and I'll read Whale's tweet as I pull it up. I stall. Whale, if you bought a CryptoPunk a month ago, you're currently up 4 ETH. That sounds great. If you bought a CryptoPunk a month ago, you're currently down 20,000 USD. And I think it's like a classic encapsulation of where we're at with the market. And it's like, I don't know. We spent this time talking about let's bring ETH's going to go to 10K and all the other things. Like what I can't tell is like, where are we at with like, I guess where are we at with ETH is one thing to discuss here. I want to talk about how we're playing the market. I want to talk about the great decoupling being far, like we all got very excited on Friday, myself and you included. We were like, is it happening? And then the weekend was like, JK, it is not happening. We have a more on that. We'll get into it in a little bit. But one of my questions is like, where are we at with ETH, man? Like, what is your take on the ETH trade? Is ETH just like is this one of those situations where sentiment is as bad as it gets and it can, it's eventually going to go back up and we're going to all be like, man, I wish I was still holding ETH, and all the ETH people, I mean, Maxis will be like, haha, I was telling you the whole time. Is this a situation where, look, ETH just doesn't have the network value that we thought it did, and without like things like NFT season causing massive burns in gas and people buying them, there isn't a reason for ETH to run up to 10K? It's the most useful thing. Like my mid curve is like, possibly here is that it's useful. People who are really rich are invested in it. Like, I guess like that's like, it's like the thing that people know and go to. Like, am I like, I don't know, like where are you at with ETH?
Same spot. I think it's, I mean, it's, I feel similar with everything right now. Like, I just don't notice that there's anything short term that is going to change, that's going to overcome the macro conditions at the moment, right? It's like, this stuff has to play out, whether it's, I have no idea how it plays out, but I think it has to play out. And then where do we go from there is the real question. To your point, it's productive. It's a productive asset. It's used by many. We talk about total value locked, which might be a vanity metric. What's not a vanity metric though, is the amount of builders and amount of dApps and amount of layer twos. Like there's just way too much of an economy on ETH for it not to have a future. How soon we see that reflect in positive price action, I have no idea. This is all far beyond what I might have expected. Kind of like if you would have asked me, like, where would we be at if we got a black swan? It's probably about right where we're at now. I mean, I know there's still certainly room to the downside, but this is, I mean, similar to how I felt last week. I feel it's an extreme reaction to a global trade war. That it's bad. It's hard for me to envision things fast forward a year from now and the global markets are the same they are today. It's hard for me to imagine we fast forward a year from now, we're still talking tariffs. If we are still talking tariffs a year from now, I think it's because that they're undoing tariffs or that they worked. Like, I don't think there's much of a middle ground here. I don't think there's like, oh, cool, we're just going to go through some pain for a few months and we're going to get right back to normal. I think this is either things really work and we explode and things really take off and we have a real bull, or things get worse for an extended period of time. I just don't know. And I know that's not going to incite a lot of confidence. It's just, I think this is a really major shift. And I said in the war room, I listened to Scott Bessent interview over the weekend. And I think I've listened to like 2 Tucker interviews in my life, and this was the second one. Regardless of how you feel about tariffs, it was a different, like it's vastly different to hear him talk about the plan and the strategy as it is to hear or see how like Trump is talking about it. It was about as calming and comforting as you might be able to hear someone talk about the current state of things in the current what's happening at the moment. So like I don't know, like I you can probably roll your eyes if I recommend go watch a Tucker Carlson interview, but
No, I mean, I think Tucker Carlson, by the way, I'll switch this.
has it changed though? Like I like I said, I'm not like I don't hate on Tucker. I also don't like watch Tucker, or I never did previously, like when he was on mainstream media. He seems different than the impression I had of him when he was on mainstream media.
No. I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, I mean, the evolution of Tucker Carlson from my observation. So a couple things. Number one, I did share the ETH chart here in case you want to feel horrible about yourself. About a year ago, we had ETH at $3,800.
That's insane, man. That really is insane.
May
26th. Like the whole ETH to 10K back in 2021. In 2024, we were nearly at 4K.
April 8th, 2024. $3,695.24 of U.S. American currency to buy 1 ETH.
I remember freaking out, I missed it. Like shit, I lost my chance to get ETH below 3K.
Yeah, and so like, and I only bring that up not to derail the conversation, like about what we're talking about, but I bring that up to say like this is a wild thing to think about where we're at with ETH versus where we're at now. It's like to think that we were at a point where ETH was closing in on $4,000 a year ago. And it just shows to me how time flies in this space sometimes, because nobody in here, by the way, some comments out there, Von Frunten is 1 ETH equal 1 ETH. This is a joke. His this is a joke thing is not on ETH. That's a war room joke. Basically, we'll say something like that. We'll we'll be like, this is a joke when we're saying something sarcastic, because sometimes we had a couple times there when people miss sarcasm. So Von Frunten started this is a joke, which was one of my fave things. Diablito, I've been saying for a while, I buy ETH at $800. Am I actually going to have to do this? Then he mentions Fartcoin will save us all. Fartcoin having a little bit of a moment. It's not getting annihilated.
I hold none, so I say this with no bag bias. I think I do. I'm convinced Fartcoin is the trade of the cycle.
Yeah, I am. I mean,
it's up today. Like if I had like real cojones, I would cash out all my underdog gains and roll it right into Fartcoin today. It's just actually, I kid you not, if Fartcoin was down like 10%, I'm probably a buyer. The fact that it's up 5% today is probably keeping me not from buying, because I feel like it has to crash. And the fact that it's up 4% on a day that ETH is down 16%, on a day that Solana is about to go back below $100, like this, how is this happening? I know hard air rises, but I also heard it's really cold in the Midwest, Steve.
I know. I love hearing Thomas said, sorry, I'm late today, GM. Good to see you out there again, Thomas. As always, we appreciate you. And Thomas with the Fartcoin is the great store of value. I wish we could share abstract comments on the screen. I'm hoping they get that there soon, at least in the abstract chat, because we have some great abstract commenters. Mesh, Diablito, Thomas, Diego out there, General Wags, Be Epic, Teacher Katie, all of our good friends out there in the abstract chat, but we can't share it on there. Also, eBrink, I got to make sure that I'm not that I'm following eBrink on X. I'm almost 90% sure I am, but eBrink comes with some heat too as well. Had the good call about stable coins this morning, actually, like the thoughtful thing on stable coins. So he had the thoughtful comment, he or she, actually, I don't know eBrink, I don't want to assume. eBrink had the thoughtful comment on eBrink. Tag me in the X chat if you can to make sure I'm following you, because if I'm not, had the thoughtful comment on stable coins and gambling apps this morning, which was a banger when we were talking, help clarify the point you're making. And then comes in, there are people who are down, and then there are people who have held ETH. And that's, that's me. I'm people, as I look at that. But we'll go to Joey in a second here. I'll briefly answer your question about Tucker Carlson. I don't think he's changed. I think he's still kind of over the top. But what the thing is I think there's an important way of understanding who people are and what you're getting into. Like, people get so binary about, I don't like Sam Harris, or I don't like Ben Shapiro, to take two different sides of the coin there, right? And it's like, they both just have their own styles and their opinions. And if you go in knowing, you can educate yourself on what somebody else thinks and why they think that. Tucker Carlson, I think, thinks that aliens are angels and demons. And he has all sorts of like theories, which, hey, like, go for it, man. Like, I'm not going to tell you otherwise. But people will sit down and talk to him. He has a platform. And like, I can get value out of watching his interviews because of who he interviews. And because in a similar fashion to Joe Rogan, a lot of times he goes in and just asks questions that get answers. And because I think the interviewee doesn't feel like they're on the attack, like you talk about the Bassett interview, I didn't see it. I will watch it. But I think my guess, you tell me if I'm wrong. He watched it. He didn't feel like Tucker was attacking him?
No, not at all. And
that's it.
Genuinely made me, I think I feel, honestly, like, I'm not just saying this is not hyperbole. I actually feel better. I feel like calmed about this crash today, because I feel like hearing Bassett talk, like, okay, there is actually an adult in the room. Like, it was a very like calm, cool, collected, common sense, like, okay, logic. And maybe it's all bullshit. Maybe the guy's just a great at theater. I didn't feel like he was attacking him at all. It just felt like a good, normal conversation. And actually, like, I caught myself, oh, okay, like, kind of like nodding as I had the AirPods in. We got some breaking news from producer Payne.
Emergency close board. Oh, there you go. So maybe we're gonna get lower rates. Okay, so we're gonna go to Joey before we go deep into this, because this is another thing. Emergency news. So Payne says, just in, emergency close board meeting from the Fed today. Also, Be Epic, feeling the pain in the chat as well with ETH. No, my point on Tucker Carlson before we go to Joey was exactly what you said, which is, you cannot like the person or how they go about things. I'm not like trying to judge the human or the artist. I'm trying to judge the art that comes from it, the art with the artist. And
he's a good interviewer. Like, it's just, I feel almost guilty that I thought so poorly of him negatively, and I don't know why. Like, my impression,
because he did have insane, like, I believe Tucker Carlson, wasn't he the one who went? I think as an interviewer, he's great. I think as a commentator, I don't like. And I think what you were looking at,
I don't even know how I formed that opinion. Like, as I reflect back, like, I don't,
because he literally got sued, and his defense was that nobody would believe my ridiculous statements. Like, that was his defense against when he was at Fox News. So I'm sorry to keep cutting you off, but like, I think you're actually thinking of it exactly the right way.
Yeah, it was like I was just like adjacent to it. I didn't really follow it. I didn't pay attention to him. I just like, oh, he's not a good person. And then I actually watched a few interviews, like, wow, this guy's a really good interviewer. And to your point, like, I'm not going to judge the artist. I'll judge the art, and the art was pretty freaking good.
Right.
That's on a very complex topic, on a topic that most people, most human beings, let alone Americans, are like kind of freaking out about. And it was just it's not an easy conversation to where I feel it was digestible for anyone who tuned in.
Right. He's incredibly intelligent. And it's funny, back when he was back in his CNN days, before my brother even worked there, he had dinner with Tucker Carlson.
Be right back. I changed the title to Cap and Steve Glaze Tucker Carlson on coffee this morning.
No, but it's funny because like the way I do it is like people have different skill sets. Tucker Carlson I think personally is a very good interviewer, because but again, take his views aside and how he does things, or people got up mad when he interviewed Putin, and like they felt like he was favorable. He got real, genuine answers more so than I've seen in other interviews. And I think very similarly when this one, I'm sure he did, because he's a good interviewer. I think when it comes to commentating, when you have to go to a court of defense to say nobody reasonable would believe the things I'm saying because they're so ridiculous, that's where I think he ran into issues. And that's where I think where you didn't like him, where most people rightfully probably didn't, were his rants that were very reductive and seemingly taking advantage of people with, who didn't follow things closely. But as an interviewer, that's where I think like I try to separate those two things. Yeah, Trump, lower Fed rate, make me, Trump, hold my beer. Yeah, so that's the 40 test conversation, which let's get Joey in here, and then we'll get into the conversation of where this might go in a second. Joey, GM.
I'm gonna pin Joey's picture of us. Like, if I think of what does a softball player, a middle-aged adult male softball player look like? Joey is what I picture in my head.
No, see, I'm the opposite. I think Joey is far superior. I think of a middle-aged softball player, and I think of a guy with a beer belly who's going out and just trying to swing for dingers. I look at Joey, and he looks like Like he looks like if you told me Joey's got like that Ovechkin, like I could be the guy who just hit a home run look.
By the way, I got to tell you, I've been feeling a little bad. I've been like having some self like image issues. Like my entire facial hair, except for the mustache, is going white. Like thankfully my head of hair, cat hair is still like completely back. Hairline a little bit receding, but other than that, we're still good up top. The beard, however, is just like gone, and it's so bad. Like on film, it looks like I'm just rocking a mustache sometimes. Like my confidence went through the roof after I saw Alex Ovechkin, who somehow seemingly, if you missed it over the weekend, he broke the record for all-time goals scored in the NHL. The man is our age, and he looks older than Wayne Gretzky. So thank you, Alex Ovechkin, for still being an athlete that it looks older than myself. You make me feel better about all the grays.
Yeah, but either way, Joey, get in here, get us back on track. You go in any way you can.
Yeah, GM guys. So I appreciate the compliments. Thank you. I work really hard to not be a beer belly softball player like most of the guys in the league. I legged out a triple yesterday, actually. So so the speed is still there. Not as fast as I used to be, but it's still there.
The thought popped in my head, like, I would probably, like, the chances of me pulling a hamstring if I attempted to leg out a triple right now, it's like,
I was going to say the same thing. I would pull a hammy.
It's like minus 300. Like, I'm pretty sure if I really attempted to like leg out a real triple, like went out cold right now, I'm greater than 50% chance I'm pulling a hammy.
I've done that. I've like literally like I've done sprints. Like Joey, shout out to Joey. Like that's the best part about CrossFit. You do sprints. Like when I was doing sprints when I wasn't doing CrossFit, like I would be like incredibly sore or pull something. And
I also like, this is a true story. I don't know how to play 50% anything. So like I couldn't like go out and just like play a reasonable game of softball. This is a true story. The last game of softball I played, my daughter was in 6th grade. They had a parent-daughter, parent-kid volleyball game. One of the other kids, their dad was a former NBA player. Kid you not, 7 foot tall guy. He's on the pitching mound. I'm out there, so I'm like, okay, I can hang with this guy. I'm still an athlete. My brain just didn't work. So I was playing in the outfield. A ball comes, hits me. I just naturally like crow hop and throw the thing in. I could have killed a kid. Like I threw it from center field as if I was playing in the big leagues, and the ball just screams, and like the catcher didn't even try to catch it. It's like hits the backstop. And I was that dad that like attempted, like, I threw a softball like 90 miles an hour.
I like that's what you have to do. Like you have to.
6th grader though, as a 6th grader, like there was no business in me throwing at full speed to try to get the runner at the plate. We would have got the runner at the plate, but the catcher was afraid to catch the ball.
Yeah, you have to line up and tell yourself that you are going to take a 7-foot former NBA player yard, or else what are you doing there? But sorry, Joey, get us on track. What do you want to talk about here?
Muted, Joey.
I'm coming. Oh yeah. So real quick before I jump in on the discussion on the hair thing, Cap. Not sure if you're watching White Lotus. I'm not. My wife is, but a lot of people are watching White Lotus, and apparently
it's coming back.
Walton Goggins is one of the main characters in that show. He's also the guy from Fallout. He's been in a lot of stuff, but apparently he's making receding hairline sexy again.
Yep.
This is like like all over social media. It's like, hey, receding hairline men, have no fear. I'm sexy again, thanks to Walton Goggins.
I'm gonna grow my hair out because of this. True story. I'm like, it's in the process. So if you can see like little, I'm gonna grow my hair out. First time since maybe senior year of high school, I have hair grown out. Inspired by our guy Tebow and the White Lotus guy.
And if you can get a receding hairline, you could have the skullet, like a mullet, but you're bald up top. But I'm ending the old guy talk. Joey, get us on crypto.
Yeah, so okay, I want to preface what I'm going to say with I have a minor in economy from a very long time ago. I am not an economist, but I did take some time over the weekend to like listen to other smarter people talk about this whole situation. And one of the things that a lot of people talked about was the fact that we have $9 trillion in debt that's coming due I can't, and I apologize, either this year or next year, that's coming due for the United States government, 9 trillion. And these people are saying that the reason why we're basically being forced into a recession is because when you're forced into a recession, the wealthy people, the financing, the financial people of the country will buy treasury bonds or government bonds because they're the most secure place to put your money. So if we're forced into a recession, they'll then put their money into these bonds, which then allows the US government to refinance their debt at a lower interest rate, essentially wiping out huge, like trillions and trillions of dollars of debt that we're carrying.
So real quick though, like I've heard this, but it doesn't wipe out trillions of dollars. Like if you just do the math, like if let's say the rates reduce 1% on 9 trillion, that would be like 90 billion. A big number, but it's not like 90 billion is like spitting in the ocean in terms of our current debt. Like, yes, it would lower rates, would lower our debt service, but I don't know. It doesn't make sense that like if the take is like, oh, they're gonna destroy the economy, they're gonna crush the market so that they can refinance to save 90 billion. There's been more than 90 billion erased from the stock market, probably today.
That's only one part of it, right? That it's gonna give them the ability to refinance, the sale of the bonds, the bringing back the manufacturing jobs. Like it's this whole process, to your point, Cap, of like, hey, it's too early to judge. Again, this is not my research. I'm regurgitating lots of videos and things that I went out and watched because I wanted to understand from like other perspectives. Like it's part of this bigger process of we have so much debt in the United States. We have high interest rates. We're not selling, we're not manufacturing jobs, and everything's being out, like all of this in combination. Their hope is that by pushing us into a recession, lowering interest rates, selling more bonds, refinancing debt, bringing back manufacturing jobs, like all of these things are what's supposed to help reignite the economy and give us an opportunity to pay off some debt that has just been accumulating over and over again. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm just regurgitating. And this is, I've seen this talked about on multiple videos. So this is not like one person. These are like multiple people, like financial analysts, economists, whatever, kind of laying out this whole plan. And it's a huge risk, huge risk, because from a political standpoint, if it doesn't work by the midterms in 2026, if there isn't some change, there's a really good chance that the Republicans then lose the House and the Senate, which means the last 2 years of his presidency are going to be a lame duck presidency, and nothing's going to get done.
And this is the last part what you just said there is why I don't think this carries on forever. I think something gives. Someone, like, I don't know if it's, maybe this is the largest game of chicken in the history of the world. I don't know. It's hard for me to envision, forget everything else. It's hard for me to envision that they go into midterms with the economy in the tanks. I don't know what levers they pull. I don't know. Maybe tariffs work. Maybe they don't. Well, I can't see this continuing on for the next 2 years.
Well, this is where, okay, so a lot of things. I think, like, I appreciate Joey actually presenting the part of the pro argument there, right? Because a lot of people right now are reacting and saying, like, look, this hasn't worked before, here's why, and they felt bad about it. But at the same time, there is that pro argument people are having. So I appreciate you bringing that. So let's explain exactly what you just said, Cap. So I talked to someone who is very well politically connected, who very much knows and understands his environment better than anybody here. Again, like, because we talk about it at the same time. What you'll never see from myself, Cap, like, we're not going to pretend to be experts in things we're not. We'll tell you when we talk to smart people. I will
pretend to be an expert in MLB battle royales on Underdog forever.
Well, I was actually going to say, it's funny. That's the example I was going to use. Cap will talk about his expertise in daily fantasy because he knows daily fantasy. If you want to talk about marketing, I'll talk about marketing. If you want to talk about NFTs, I'll talk about NFTs and sort of the functionality. If you want to talk about the economy, I'm going to talk to economists. If you want to talk about politics, I'll talk to political people. I'm very fortunate that there are people close to me in my life and a variety of places where, I mean, I said last on the show Friday, two Nobel Prize winning economists endorsed my book, and a decorated economist is my co-author. So I have a little bit of access to economists, and my brother is one of the best investigative political journalists on the planet, like arguably the best. And so like I have people I know in politics. So here are the ways this thing could potentially end based on talking to all those people. One, this somehow works, right? And I think in its current form, we all agree the idea is not they would put these tariffs off and things would boom. Like there's some further plan to this. We all agree on that. You know, Cap said that Friday. I say that that's one place we all agree. This cannot be the end game, is that we put these massive tariffs. So that's one way that is unlikely that this works. Two, we capitulate and negotiate. I think that's certainly possible. And like, that's part of what this could be, right? It's like you put these tariffs on. He says that the auto tariffs are going to stay. Does that really matter? I don't know. Like there's a world where they lower rates. Payne talked about that. So again, I have a tweet I could explain what interest rates happen when they lower. Effectively, it makes money cheaper, so businesses take more risks. They can borrow money at a cheaper rate, and so therefore it encourages innovation. It helps people buy back stocks, which helps the stock market. It helps people invest in jobs. It helps people borrow money at a rate they can pay back later when the economy is better and they have the money, no problem. You know, so it's like a business loan for everybody. So lowering rates can certainly help, and then eventually pull back. One of the things that you said, though, there, Cap, when you talked about the midterms, I mean, obviously this could drag out and we could enter a global recession and things could go very sideways. But you just said we're not going to go into midterms. I talked to someone very well connected politically who said, you know, there's a world where the Republicans just push back against Trump. He's a lame duck president. He can't run again. They have the majority in the votes. They want to win midterms. And frankly, did not think it was possible in 100 days for like Republican approval ratings to potentially drop below historically bad Democratic approval ratings, but we might go there if we enter a really bad economy and people lose jobs and want change. So there's a world where the Republican Congress people stand up and just say, we're not going to stand for this. They have the votes. And I hadn't heard this as a theory. And I thought it was an interesting theory to say an unlikely way we come out of this that you wouldn't think about is they just don't let this happen. Because they have the House, they have the Senate, they have the courts, they have everything right now. They theoretically could push back and just say, we want to win next presidency, we want to win next midterms. We're not going to win it if we're in a global recession and people are fighting and our enemies are threatening hot wars against us. I don't know. Like so those are sort of like potential outcomes happening. I don't know about you. I tend to think rates will lower, which isn't going to save us on its own. And then we're going to negotiate deals and pull back and call it a victory, and the economy will go back to where we are. But I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts. Or I see Joey's hand go back up. I'll let Joey get back in, but I'll be curious if you have thoughts on that. But Joey, get in here.
Yeah, so I do think, you know, something Cap said last week and you just said now, I do think that there has to be a bigger plan here. And I do think that it's probably not going to be this like, when it's all said and done, if it's a year from now, I don't think it's going to be this like groundbreaking, like huge, like change. I think any small change, right? Whether it's, you know, some of the tariffs stay, some of them go, or they're renegotiated, or right, like interest rates drop and some manufacturing comes back, right? Like it's impossible. Like it's really impossible to reset 100 years of globalization, right? Like we made a decision in the, whatever it was, 1920s or 30s to go to this like globalized market, right? And it's going to be impossible in 2 years to completely reset all of that. I mean, there's things that do need to change. Like, you know, when you look at some crazy things like how much money is contributed to like how much money the US contributes to help Europe when we're contributing more than all of the European nations. Like there's certain things that we need to pull back on from a globalization perspective, but we're not going to reset it all. So even if it's small incremental changes, it's good. And to your point, Steve, I think if they make small incremental changes, it'll be a win. But I don't think it's going to be like this massive shift like people want it to be. It just needs to be a little bit at a time to make things better. And if we can do that, whether this game, like Cap says, this game of chicken works or not, again, it just needs to change a little. That's my perspective.
Yeah, and if that's the ultimate outcome, great. Like I would love to see that happen. It's just it's a very nervous situation. I don't know. And again, I'm neither an economist nor a political expert. I'm just repeating those who were. I know, like I said, there's a lot of economists who said like this is bad. Like I even saw, I don't remember who it was. I saw somebody basically saying like someone who was, I think it was a hedge fund trader, but I don't remember who it was, basically saying like, put a pause on this for 90 days and negotiate a fair rate, and basically be like, because the one thing that's interesting is like, we're all going to the shitter right now. China, Japan, us, Europe, like right now, this is not good for anyone. So if there's a world where we take our foot off the gas because everyone says we get back there, like that could be a positive outcome too. So I don't know. I don't know where we net out. I don't know if it's like 9D chess, like here, like the way people think it is. I was talking with Stats over the weekend. Trump's thought tariffs would work since the 80s.
Speaking of that, I saw. Well, I don't know. That's probably another conversation I don't think to get into. But he's not the only one that's been calling for tariffs since like for decades. Like this is it actually was a big Democratic push from all the historical videos I saw. It's who knows if it'll work. I do think like something had to change. Is this the best way to drive that change or to get to that change? I tend to side with you. Like, hey, can we just put a pause on implementing this stuff and let's actually negotiate before we put things into effect? And hey, that logically makes sense, but maybe you don't get the desired results in that less aggressive approach. I don't know, but it's
like we've shown it can happen, and we've shown what will happen now. Like I think this is like, because the Trump administration basically said this is worse than they expected. Like there was like reports that they didn't expect to be this bad. It's sort of like, what's the worst that can happen? We're like, shit, worse than we thought. So like, but like granted, at the same time, the point it's made is like it's bad for everybody. And the sort of like the line you teeter here is, one, do we end up losing sort of credibility and like support from our allies because we've done this? Or two, do we show like, look, like we are hinging the world right now? Because somebody might see this as an opportunity to say like, okay, now there's going to be a power vacuum with what's going on. On the other flip side, like, the point that we were making earlier, it's like, I don't know. So like, I think that there's like, we could lose global trust, or on the flip side, we could say, hey, like this is the power that we wield. So take it or leave it. We need to change something here. And we do like, but that's, I mean, a very oversimplified way of putting it, but like, it's almost like it's like a risky game. And to your point, like, yeah, like, is there a way to basically be like, look, we see how bad this can be, but this is where we're at. But yeah, I think, like I said, path forward, and we'll go back to Joey, and then we'll kind of keep chatting on how you can play this if you're in this market. And then I actually want to talk a little bit of ApeCoin DAO, because I know in the second hour, just because that'll be a good palate cleanser from where we're at right now. But like I said, the outcomes I see, this somehow works. Again, I think everybody on all sides says like this isn't final form, so probably like low percent chance on that. Like it's a 99% chance not working poly market as it is. We negotiate in some way, and this is a negotiation tool. This drags out when we enter recession. Republicans just turn heel and flip on Trump altogether because he's already a lame duck president, and they call it a day there. We're going to see rate cuts, it looks like, potentially today. So like we're like it's just a matter of like what pain are people willing to take. And I don't know the answer to that, but let Joey get in here, and I think Chris Hoddle's coming up as well, so we'll let Chris get in as well with that perspective. But Joey, get back in here, and then we'll go to Chris.
Yeah, I think the one industry I do know a little bit about, and I'm again not an expert, just a little bit, is real estate. And I think when we look at like what's happened with the real estate market the last 8 to 10 years, I don't know about other people, but I would be okay with us going into some type of recession. Now, I feel bad for the individuals that bought homes the last 4 years or whatever it is, 2 to 3 years that they're
depends on what rate they got locked in. I don't feel bad for those that got locked in at 2%. But yeah, if someone bought it after rates moon, yeah, that's RIP.
Yeah, I feel bad. Yeah, exactly. I feel bad for those individuals that got in at 6 or 7%, right? Like, I mean, I'm blessed. I got in at 2.9, right? But like, we need, from a real estate perspective in this country, it is virtually unaffordable for most Americans at the current housing prices and interest rates to buy homes. It's crazy, and we need some type of reset, recession, whatever it is, to bring housing prices back down to where they belong based on average American wages. And even if the interest rates were high, but the home prices were in line with income, it would be okay. But now you've got both. You've got high interest rates and you've got home prices that are not in line. And I know everyone jokes about how like, oh, our grandparents buy a home and create wealth by buying a home. Like, well, it's not the 1950s anymore. But if things weren't so out of control, you could still do that. And I don't know if what's going on right now with the tariffs and going into a recession and all this other stuff is going to affect homes the way we need it to. But from that perspective, as an American, we need something to happen to the housing market, because it's just crazy right now looking at what mortgages are going to cost people if they want to go buy a home and be able to have something for their family.
Yeah, I think we're towing into complexities right now, because I'm sure, again, if we have an economist on the show, they could tell us many ways to approach that sort of problem. So I don't want to dig too deep into like the home prices and whether like it's good or bad to have a recession based on that. But I want Chris, go ahead and get in here, GM.
GM, you guys started talking about international relations, and so I felt the sirens call to come up here. Ironically, while I'm starting to do my taxes at the last minute. And so I wanted to talk about President Trump had a interview, I assume on Air Force One, and Secretary Bessent was kind of popping in and out in the background, which is humorous if you watch it. It was about 15 minutes long, and they were talking about that he was getting a lot of questions about the market.
I saw it, Chris.
Especially on Thursday and Friday. Yeah. And so they asked him a lot of
basically
questions.
He let all the reporters on you, like he was standing in like a doorway, right, on Air Force One, and all the reporters were asking him questions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so they were asking him questions about pain tolerance and pain level. And he gave a somewhat of an insight, which was contradictory to something that he kind of said last week about pain and pain level, not Pain the producer, about pain level
or
for
pain
the markets and pain level for the what he was willing to do. And he kind of brushed it off as a stupid question. And then he mentioned later in it about with China and some of the trade deficits and taking your medicine. And so I think where the markets are at is much different than where the president at least says that he's at, with trying to get trade deficits online. I also kind of chuckled, and I don't think this is possible, that he's only willing to do where it's a trade surplus for the United States. And I think a lot that will drive a much deeper global recession or depression, because you're going to have this giant money vacuum in the United States trying to do trade, and it becomes very isolationist for all involved, because nobody will want to trade with the United States, and we will essentially be making our own stuff. And that will get very expensive very quickly and will yield much higher inflation rates, because we have much higher costs of doing business when you're making things. There will be no more $10 t-shirts and $100 tires. Everything will get much, much more expensive. So I think that there's a way to do that. And what Joey was saying about refinancing a debt, I think that's part of it. And that has to weigh on them as well, because they keep having to go back and look at debt limit ceilings and things like that. And when you're having billions of dollars of just interest, that is unsustainable, and also will yield, global recession if that goes sideways as well. So that's all I had to say.
Well, that's the scary part, is like the scary part becomes like, okay, like we have a stagnant economy. We become more isolationist and make things at home. The prices are going to be higher because, unfortunately, tariffs tend to become a tax onto people. Like, that's one of the Republicans' pushback, is like, we didn't want to do more taxes, and the tariffs are effectively a tax on the American people. So that's one of the pushbacks you hear. But to your point, if we have a stagnant economy and we lower rates and we print more money to cover that, that's how you end up with stagflation. And that is a place you don't want to be, because you don't have the proper levers to pull to ultimately get out of that. So there's got to be something that's got to give here, and it'll just be one that we got to follow. But, like, the scary part is, and I'm not like trying to be like alarmist here, I think everything works out and we'll figure it out. The scary part here becomes, like, people tend to forget that, like, there's a lot of global powers that have risen and fallen in the history of the world, and they tend to not stay there, whether it's the Roman Empire, whether it's, the Ottoman Empire, like, you name it. And the United States Empire has really the United States only existed for like 250 or so years. The empire as it stands is only existed for what, like less than 100, 75, 80? It's not like it's this infallible thing. And I think people in their own lives take for granted, like, well, the United States is on top. That's how it's always been. No, I mean, it was like that in the, what, like 50s and 60s is when we really started to like pick up in that regard, right? In the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So like, we're talking less than 100 years, 70, 80 years of, sort of world sort of empire. And it has been an empire the way that we've done things in many ways. And like, you could say good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not like saying one thing or the other, because I think a lot of times people get mad about globalization, but they don't know exactly what's going on overseas or anything there. So I try not to judge based on that. I'm simply looking at historically, and that saying, like, it's not impossible to think that there are moves where there is a straw that will break the camel's back for us as an empire. So I think that's the other thing that's important to like at least acknowledge, is that I think there's this idea that's like, well, it'll always be better, which I generally think it does. And you worry about what you can do, but it's not, it's always possible. Chris, I'll let you get back in here. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to add. So the other thing is about, you started talking about global hegemony, right? The past 80 years. I don't think the United States qualifies as an empire, because we're not expanding from a standpoint of taking over other nations, unless you want to start the Greenland conversation again. But the point is it's that way for a reason, right? And we have developed into this global economic, military, diplomatic powerhouse because of the things that we were able to accomplish really in the early 1900s, after going through a great struggle in the 1800s, kind of finding ourselves, right, with the Civil War and so on. So when you start to see that we are doing all of the things that make the globe go, right? We are protecting causeways and straits and narrows that global trade relies on. If we stop protecting the Red Sea and the Suez Canal and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, there would be no shipping through there, because the Houthis would attack it and they would shut it down and they would have control over it. The same when you talk about the 90s and all of the Persian Gulf stuff that was going on, and the Strait of Hormuz. And then you have the straits now that of Malacca in Southeast Asia are another real choke point. And the Panama Canal has always been kind of the most well-known one. But those things are things that have to be protected and safeguarded. And the United States, while doing that, has also, expected that they're going to kind of get paid or get favorable treatment for doing that work. Same with NATO and so on and so forth. And that goes back to, I was talking last week about diplomatic information, military and economic levers of power. Those are what nations use to influence other nations and to accomplish their ends, to protect their national interests. And so those are the things that they have to do in order to do that. And sometimes, as much as I disagree with him about a lot of things, I think President Trump, you have to take your medicine, and you get to a bad place with the markets, with the housing market, with so on. It's going to get to deflation, and it's going to get bad. It's going to get much worse, in my estimation, before it gets a lot better. I've positioned myself for that. Probably missing out on some gains in the early term, but hoping to position myself better in the long term, and then just not doing things, right? Doing less, as a couple of the hosts on my favorite financial show say, just do less. And I've been doing less, and that's probably the best two words that I could have heard in all of this financial stuff. So shout out to my MNS guys.
I do think that is sage advice, is like, unless you are a hyperactive, if you're a day trader, if you're an active trader, you need to be dialed in right now. If you're a passive trader and you do your DCAs, you're in all these positions long, I do think, and we're not financial advisors, so talk to your financial advisors. But if you're freaking out, talk to your financial advisors. Don't make emotional trades in a time like this. Sometimes it's do something, but it doesn't mean if you're not a trader, it doesn't mean like this is probably the worst time to become a trader. We got our producer needs a raise, Steve. He is breaking news once again. Europe says they're ready to negotiate tariffs with the U.S. We saw a lot of this over the weekend, but it was like Vietnam and some smaller I shouldn't call them adversaries, trading partners. And Vietnam's a pretty big one for that matter. So it's like but the market did not respond to the we're ready to negotiate news over the weekend. Maybe Europe is different. It does feel, Steve, I mean, as much as we can say, hey, don't trade emotionally, don't feel like you need to rush and start, cash out your 401k today. It feels like today is going to be a pretty, I don't want to say pivotal. Is that the right word? It feels like today is like a flag in the sand type of day. It feels like we're going one of the two directions. Like I don't think we wake up tomorrow morning and it's like everything is flat. Like I think we either get a bounce off of news today or the market opens here in 21 minutes and things get really bad. There was a comment, like the title, yes, it's a little bit of hyperbole calling it Black Monday. There was a question like that's being a little dramatic. Maybe, but on Black Monday in 1987, the stock market erased 500 billion from the market. Friday, it was over 300 billion. And there's a chance we run that up again today. Like, I don't think it's being overly dramatic. I maybe today is the Fed meeting is positive. Europe starts negotiating and things don't crash. I'm bracing myself for another double-digit crash today, Steve. And I'm not exiting positions because I think that's coming. It may go another 10, 20% after a crash today. I don't know. I'm not, this could be a sell the bottom moment. It could be, hey, stable when you can. I'm not making emotional moves today. I'm going to do things. In my case, like you can laugh as much as you want, but like a way for me to distract myself from this market is we've got a big baseball slate tonight. So I will be doing some MLB drafts. We've got some, we've got some proposals out there that you and I'm just going to be putting my head down and work and focusing on what I can control. I'm not putting my head in the sand and ignoring what's happening on a global geopolitical level, but I'm not changing what I'm doing today because of this uncertainty. Because when you talk about FUD and fear and uncertainty and doubt, hard to think of a time. Actually, it's not hard. Like the most fear, uncertainty, and doubt I can remember in markets like this would be the COVID recent times would be the COVID crash of 2020. And while that was scary and a lot of and certainly unknown, a lot of fear and doubt, after that crash, things turned out okay. And in some cases, really good. So it's like, I don't know. The simplest thing, like the TLDR and all this, we probably should all just start copy trading Warren Buffett. And when he's in cash, we should probably get in cash pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think a couple of things on that. I think when the COVID crash happened, I had a spreadsheet of like stable American companies that met certain criteria I put money into, and that did very well. They actually bounced a lot quicker than I expected. I thought it was going to take, a year or years, and it took, like a month. And they had like, I think my Chipotle stock like tripled in price in like a month and a half or something like that. It was insane. So I think there is, a lot of things here. By the way, yeah, like Pinstripe Gator hitting control what you can control. By the way, congrats, Pinstripe Gator. Good luck against Houston. Electric game. I watched the entire end of the Houston game, and it was I was shocked. It was pure excitement seeing Duke just flounder. But that's actually the direction I was going to go with it. Like Chris Hoddle teed us up really nicely there, which is like the what are you doing? And he kind of mentioned the do nothing. I am a little bit stable, not a lot bit stable. I'm always a little bit stable, and I kind of catch shit for that from people if I talk about it in booming times, but I'm probably going to deploy stables in a slow motion into some of my favorites, particularly Bitcoin now.
I'm watching. I too, like usually we had a small distribution last week. Usually I buy or I off ramp those funds. I'm just sitting in stables right now. I'm not making
exactly that exact same thing. We're talking about the exact same money, actually. It's funny. Sorry to cut you off, Cap, but it's funny you say that. Keep going.
No, I mean, you've done the same thing I did. Like normally that's a spot buy for me, or if I need to off ramp for whatever reason, I will. I'm just like last week's is just sitting in combination of Tether and USDC. And I'm fine. Like I'm not like rushing, I gotta buy today because it's down. I don't need to time the bottom, but I'm just there, right? I don't even know how to explain it. Like I feel fine and stable. And it's not a huge amount, but it's like I think it also like where my headspace is at is like I think there's going to be some buying opportunities. It may be today and maybe it bounces tomorrow. I think I'm probably just going to hang tight and see when we get what I feel is an actual bounce, but it's not just going to be about, there has to be something behind it, right? Like something comes out of this meeting or something comes out of the European negotiations, like something to where I'm still looking for bottom, and I have no reason to believe we've actually hit bottom yet. All that could change today. Like we could get literally news could come out today and things just rip. I'm not expecting that. So I'm just comfy in
and I also think like you have to be like, stay woke on this stuff, right? Be smart. Like it's like all of a sudden we're hearing news that Europe's willing to negotiate and the Fed's having an emergency meeting. How much of this is trying to curtail the markets not to absolutely dump Black Monday style going into today versus how much of it is like Europe? Like Europe is, yes, there's a European Union, but it's like not one single country. It's several countries on an individual basis. So like, Europe is willing to negotiate maybe, but like, I think there's also it's entirely possible that these are like, oh yeah, and Europe's coming to the table and we're having a meeting about rates. Everything's going to be better. Please don't have the worst day in stock market history on Monday. So I think that there is I think this is one to think about. Like, and so I don't want to like, get too excited about any of these breaking news pieces, because similar to how we have a lot of sports fans that listen, I know sometimes an agent suddenly slips out that a guy wants a trade and a reporter's reporting it to try to help them negotiate better money. It's like, we could be just saying Europe's ready to come to the table to try to help the markets not hit a crash. So like, just be vigilant on that stuff. But to your point, Cap and I had a distribution last week from like our, because we're trying to string along and duct tape together a career in this world. It's not easy as we pull in sponsors and other things. We got some, one payment last week, not a huge amount, but it's sitting there in stables. I have it earning 3% in stables, and I'm debating about deploying some today, some tomorrow, or just like you said, off ramping it so that I can continue to pay my bills. Largely dependent on a couple of meetings we have this week, because it'll, change whether I need that to pay my bills or not. So I think like it's just important to be thoughtful in these times and not panic and react, as Cap was saying. Like,
imagine asking people for money in this market.
Yeah, which we're about to do. So yeah, I think there is definitely a
buy low. Sponsors, anyone's looking in and you're not sure, we'll give you a 10% Black Monday discount if anyone wants to cut a check today.
Yeah, cutting a check today, 10% today only. Because it'll be a good deal for you, because I hear Europe's coming to the table. Joey Valls, get in here.
Yeah, one thing I was going to say when Cap was talking, which is sometimes the best trade is no trade. Like, I mean, I could think back multiple times where I was like on the fence on whether or not I should do a trade or not. And I pulled the trigger and it was like, my gut was like, you probably should just do nothing. And I was like, no, we're going to go for it. And it didn't work out. So sometimes it's okay to say like, I didn't do anything, and then the other thing I was going to, when you brought up Europe, so UK obviously is, not part of the EU, Brexit and that whole thing. I guess there was some leaks that their prime minister or whoever it is over there, Sir Stamer or Keir Stamer, is actually supposed to be coming out in amid like this whole globalization tariff thing and admitting that UK's globalization strategy has failed and that they're going to be looking to like pull back some of what they're doing. So, and it's a direct effect of what, again, the leak is saying based on what Trump is doing. So who knows, to your point, Steve, like it could all just be, to maybe save the markets today, but there's definitely multiple things coming out of Europe that could potentially be beneficial for what Trump is trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anytime if you're trying to save the markets with like potentially false or misleading rumors, it's basically a verbal Ponzi scheme, right? It's like, hey, trust me, this money's going to be there. Just stick it out. And then tomorrow, like, oh, but here's another thing that's going to happen. It's like at some point, action has to actually happen. And I just think we are at a point now where we just need to, like, again, control what you can control. I start locally is a very real thing if you are, looking at how you want to handle things. And like, to me, it's like friends, family, my own finances, what I can do. But yeah, and I'll say this, and then I'll get into more, here in a second. To me, it's just like, I'm just going to talk like selfishly how I'm feeling. I didn't want another bear market after we just had a brutal bear market. I didn't want like a 4-month bull market fueled by scam-driven meme coins. Like that wasn't what I was hoping for in this crypto market. I wanted to see crypto run, get adoptions. I wanted to see prices go up. I want to see NFTs have another opportunity to use their money and deploy it in creative new ways and innovative new thoughtful ways. And it's not what we're getting right now. We're very, very possibly heading into a recession. People are going to lose jobs. They're going to lose homes. It's going to be really, really painful. And just be empathetic to those people just because, people go through it. And it's like, it's not going to be an easy market. And, in these times, it's like there are people who are going to have to sell their crypto at lows because they need to pay bills and other risk on assets. So being sympathetic to what is coming, I think, is important. But yeah, like it's definitely scary times.
Seeing a lot of comments about the VIX from BEpic in the abstract chat and Banana Rat in the X chat. VIX is off the chart today. VIX is actually don't know what it stands for. It's volatility index.
Volatility index, yes. I think.
What's the X?
I think it's just index is IX. I have no idea.
That would make sense. Volatility in the stock market, and anything over 30 is high fear or uncertainty, meaning it can, it's extremely volatile, but it could go, it means it's something is going to move today, north or south. The VIX right now is at 52. Again, 30 is high fear or uncertainty. It's at 52 this morning. So if you're a believer in the VIX projecting market movements, buckle up.
It's the orange man's world. We're all just living in it. One thing I would say that, and I'll get into more, here in a second, because I think one thing that we talked about last week, which is, simply not happened, was on Friday, we had this glimpse of, wait a minute, has crypto decoupled from the financial markets? Are people finally seeing that? Over the weekend, we didn't see that. So I kind of want to look into a little bit of history to see what that looked like in the past.
The more you know, brought to you by ENS.
It's time for the More You Know, brought to you by ENS. By the way, I will actually pin to the top. I'm going to give one more plea to anybody listening. If you want the potential to win $100 in this economy, I think 2 $100 gifts are giving away. Definitely one. I'm going to pin it to the top. It's been a while since I posted this thing. I gave it a little bit longer run because it didn't get quite. It got lost when X was down. So not a lot of people saw it. So you have a very high chance. If you like, retweet and comment on the tweet I just pinned to the top of the space. Basically, Para partnered with ENS. If you comment an ENS below that tweet, you have a chance to win $100. Simple as that. We're encouraging people to sign up friends and family members with Para because it's a way to sign up for ENS without get them their name, their domain. We know how important domains were for the internet. Now we're getting into the crypto world with domains. The only thing you can own is your name. So opportunity up top, you'll see there. If you like, retweet, comment on that with an ENS. Sign up a friend and family member, have them claim that. Opportunity to win $100. So comment an ENS on there and have the chance to win. Right now, I think we have 22 comments, but I think only, like less than 10 entries maybe. So pretty high chance to just win $100. So
200 a day is like, or 100 a day is like 500 from last week when you started the contest. So
yeah, I mean, think about it. If you get $100 and you buy ETH or Bitcoin now, you are getting a major discount from what if you had done it last week. So we'll run it. I'll probably close it out today, but I'll do one more call for that. So go up top, like, retweet, comment on that. Just comment an ENS at this point, just kind of with the opportunity to win that $100, and we'll get that going. And I think, again, it sounds like the CEO of Para is going to pick a winner as well. So 2 people potentially opportunity. So double your chances there. All it costs you is putting your ENS in the comments. That said, Bitcoin's response to major global economic downturns has been a mixed bag, showing both resilience and volatility. Let's look at some key events. During the 2013 Cyprus financial crisis, fears of bank bail-ins led to the Bitcoin's first major rally, jumping from $30 to $266 in just weeks. The event marked Bitcoin's first time really looking as a hedge against bank instability. Next, in 2016, the Brexit referendum rocked global markets with the British pound falling over 10% overnight. But Bitcoin, on the other hand, spiked from $600 to $700. Crazy to think 2016 is a blink ago. Bitcoin going from $600 to $700. $700. I would obviously take those rates or those levels for Bitcoin as investors sought alternative to fiat currencies. Then came COVID-19 in 2020. Bitcoin plummeted nearly 50% in a single day from about 8,000 to 4,000 alongside global stock markets. But within months, it recovered and surged to new all-time highs by the end of 2020, fueled by institutional adoptions and inflation concerns. And then in 2022, rising inflation and aggressive rate hikes forced Bitcoin to fall from nearly 4,700 to 20,000, mirroring the tech-heavy Nasdaq's decline. The collapse of major crypto institutions like Terra Luna and FTX intensified the downturn. And as recently as 2023, we had that Silicon Valley Bank crisis that we saw Circle and USD and other people going through. Bitcoin initially dipped but quickly rebounded, rallying from 20,000 to 28,000 in a month as investors questioned the safety of traditional banking. The takeaway: we really don't know what Bitcoin's going to do in response to global crisis. My gut feeling, as I've looked at the more recent examples, is that you see more of a correlation with traditional markets and Bitcoin. You don't really see that decoupling, but who knows if that can happen. There's been a mixed result. So try to get a little bit of each of them in there. But, of course, so far, it seems like it is following the downward trend. And that is The More You Know, brought to you by ENS, not just anchoring your name across Web3, but anchoring it across the internet. It's your identity. Simple, memorable, and unmistakably yours. Security, interoperability, and ease of use. Go to ens.domains to learn more and secure your ENS domain. And again, probably pick a winner on that thing today. So go to that ENS domain up top. We're trying to do more things, Cap and I, where when we work with partners, we're trying to do giveaways and things that enrich our audience a little more. We obviously are doing the BZ Claw poll tomorrow. We did that last week. That's going to be 3 claw polls where people just have to show up, have a BZ address. We'll talk about that a little bit as time goes on. Similarly, we're, talking to another partner where we're hoping to get it over the goal line to give away a decent amount of money to people over the next 6 months. It's one of our asks that we have with partners is how can we enrich our community and our audience in various ways. So just showing up here, we're hoping to give you something cool for listening to us and showing up and being around. So, but Cap, the great decoupling did not happen. Do you think the great decoupling will ever happen?
I think Thomas won the abstract chat, says decoupling lasted a day. And now Bitcoin and the S&P are in couples therapy. So that's probably the most accurate. I don't know, man. I thought it was hopium on Friday. Maybe we just missed it, and the real decoupling wasn't Bitcoin or ETH, but it was Fartcoin. Fartcoin has decoupled from the markets, and that's apparently the trade of the cycle. I also, this is the wildest stat I've seen today. Zier says, actually wild that folks who lost their ETH in the FTX collapse are getting it back at 1,700. Meanwhile, you held through it all and wrote it down to 1,400 by choice. Like, people were pissed that they were getting ETH back at 1,700 when that got announced, because ETH at the time was like 3K. And through the bankruptcy, that was I don't know exactly how that gets determined, but now people who lost their ETH in ETF or lost their ETH in FTX are actually getting it back above market price. So GG's to all the FTX creditors.
Yeah. Well, the decoupling was the friends we made along the way, Cap. Yeah, so I think that's some good global talk. Look, I'm glad we talked it through because I think there's a lot there, and I don't know, I mean, it's just we don't know where this is going. Anybody who says they do doesn't. I will say, double down on those who have been right so far. So I am continuing to listen to the people who have been correct on this so far. Doesn't mean they'll be right going forward. Past performance doesn't always mean future performance. But I was saying that to legendaries, unfollow anybody who says they know where this is going to a degree, but I'll double down on those who do. I don't know. So I'm just going to keep trying to control what I can control. I am nervous, probably the most, like I said last week, as nervous as I've been in a very, very long time as far as the economy goes. So I'm hoping that we do get these positive momentums moving forward. I think the world effect hopefully we don't see. Hopefully, we see things change a little bit there. That said, Cap, I want to talk a little bit of this and kind of get your take on it. This weekend, Garga posted new dawn in crypto regulations means tokens should have an economic model built into the protocol. Meme coins aren't better or more pure. You just would have gotten harassed if you tried to do literally anything else. Every AIP needs to answer, how does it grow tokens? So we saw this from Garga, and I'm working on finding the ApeCoin tweet from over the weekend because I know there was one. I think Quit actually quote tweeted it. So I'm trying to look and see if I can find that one with him. Yeah, and then the other one is here. Let me share this as well, and I'll get your take here. Which is should be loading here. From the ApeCoin Foundation, the new Ape Foundation administration will be reviewing all past AIPs to determine which have been fully implemented. AIP authors who have received funds from the DAO but failed to deliver is what is required by the AIP will be held accountable. I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I want to get your take on Garga's tweet saying that the basically Garga's tweet saying like, look, like moving forward, there's going to be a new directive. There's a new sheriff in town. Every AIP needs to answer, how does this grow the token, or not just like a sort of amorphous perspective. And the ApeCoin DAO talking about clawing back funds. Thoughts on both of those?
At the highest level, I think it's a step in the right direction. I think it's good that seems to be not. Anyway, I said before, with the changes at the foundation, a step in the right direction. I think there has been a lack of accountability, not just the ApeCoin DAO, probably a lot of DAOs. I think it's this is all very good that yes, there should be some sort of follow-up, some sort of accountability. I agree wholeheartedly that it should, the objective, if there's going to be a grant, like how does it help grow the ecosystem? How does it help the underlying native token? I think all that stuff is very positive. And I'm going to share this with the leadership team over there as well. So if they're listening, this isn't like I'm not talking about behind anyone's backs. I think it's important that not everyone who's received a grant is a bad actor, and there's a lot of people that have done everything they thought they were supposed to be doing, or have fully done everything they were supposed to do with their grant. Some things have changed, like the AIP draft template is now changed. I think that I didn't necessarily appreciate the tone or the blanket approach they took with everyone. And what I mean by that is every AIP grant agreement is different, or maybe there's some that are identical, but they're not all the same. And there's some things that they're stating as fact that actually aren't fact on all the agreements. And that rubs me the wrong way. It's fine. And like I said, we gladly provide any updates or document all this. There was talks of like a monthly update. That was never a thing. And so like to do it going forward is great, but to act like people who didn't do it in the past were bad actors is wrong. Like they were never required to do that. And to say that, oh, we sent out a note that updated this and now you're required. Well, actually that's not how agreements work. Like we had a contractual agreement. We signed the agreement. We upheld our end of the situation, as I assume others have as well. All these grants are very, my assumption, and I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to attack any specific AIPs. My assumption,
I will.
Then you can take that. I assume there's a few that they are specifically going after, and that's fine. Do that. Reach out to those individuals. Hold them accountable. This is like. And this is just my leadership style in general. Like if I'm, my peak of, let's say, retail management, well over 100 employees, dozens of stores. If I've got an issue with a store or two or a store manager, I'm having an individual conversation with that store manager who's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. I'm holding them accountable. I'm cracking the whip. I'm counseling them. I'm writing them up. I'm not sending a blanket statement that everyone in the company is in trouble because one of your colleagues isn't been doing what we've asked you to do. You've all been doing exactly what you've been told to do, but because this person wasn't, we're changing things. And because you all haven't done this in the past, you're in trouble now. And maybe that's extreme, but it's like, again, we keep it real here. I got an email and I was like, maybe I wasn't happy about it. I'm like, that's not fair.
Well, we did get an email on it.
Yeah, and it wasn't fair. It wasn't like, it's not a big deal. So when I say it's not fair, I'm not crying. It's not like, oh, woe is us. It's just, I appreciate drawing the line in the sand. I respect and I want to see accountability at the ApeCoin DAO. It does, like, all the wrongdoers, all those that have dropped the ball, it's not only the grant recipients. There's other people who have worked with the DAO. They've been a part of the DAO. They've been part of the administration, the leadership, the special counsel. Many of them, I don't believe, have done a good job and have dropped the ball on a few things. Some have done great jobs, and now changes are made. I feel like in a really great spot. I don't think, I just, broad sweeping attack is calling it too far, but broad sweeping statements and accusations are rarely good. And if you want to get into specifics and who you think this is directed at, that's fine. But I hope they can claw some stuff back. What I've looked at, I don't know if that's reality based on the grant agreements I've seen. And I hope that other grant agreements have that language in there. But if they don't, then I don't want to say it seems like a bluff, but it seems like a pretty aggressive stance to take if they actually don't have ability to do these clawbacks. Again, maybe some of them do. I didn't feel great about the blanket approach. That's it.
I agree, actually. Like, so I didn't know you got an email on this. We can gladly respond to that email because my ass, who doesn't like doing spreadsheets, tracked every listener, the cost per listener, the cost per tweet, the cost per retweet, the cost per impression, and every single thing that we did on there. So more than happy to provide that data for us.
And we did everything. It's just they're stating now there was supposed to be a monthly progress report that was new to us, found out about it yesterday or over the weekend.
Oh, like we were like they're saying we should have provided. Here's the hilarious part. Okay, so like now I have lots of thoughts because I didn't know this. So number one, I think generally speaking, this is a good thing, right? I don't think it's speaking to us specifically. I think it's talking about BMWs and gin and tonics, right? Like
I even think others than that. I think much bigger than that.
Well, like, I mean, obviously, like the digital art one as well, right? But like, I believe the ask was they said we were going to use it to acquire apes and punks and try to get them in museums. And if they can't get them in museums, they can't get them in museums. But like clawing the money back, I don't know if that's a doable thing. I think clawing the money back in general is not a super doable thing. On things like us being like, hey, where's the monthly progress update? We had, like, the reason why this actually strikes a chord with me. Number one, I appreciate the auditing. I do think that it would be good if the DAO actually got through the current set of proposals and moved them forward in a quicker manner, because that's a problem that people had, like, as far as like the process of moving through, the process of reviewing, the process of voting, the process of everything, like, was kind of slow. So like, I think there's probably some accountability on there. And if I were prioritizing, I would say prioritizing which ones make sense to your current model moving forward is probably a good thing versus like going after old ones.
Yes. And I asked the question, I was like, when was this? This is the first I'm hearing about this. When was this a thing? It was in a facilitator note in the middle of February, basically at the end of our AIP. And it's like, okay, again, we have no problem. We're team players. We're going to go back and provide every single monthly update from September to February when the thing got implemented. But don't, I would encourage caution on language, on assumptions. Like, we were never told to do a monthly progress. In fact, it didn't even become a thing until the last month of our AIP. Our AIP was basically finished when they said, hey, we want you to do this going forward. And they admittedly, like, oh, admittedly, this was more for those that were in their, submitting the AIP currently when we updated these changes. Well, ours had already been proved. We'd already signed our agreement. None of these were actual requirements. So we did everything. If you'd like us to do more, that's fine. You can ask, but don't. And I say this with like this tone because I'm assuming we're not the only ones. And it's like, I don't know. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater is not the right thing here, Steve. But it's like, you can draw a line and say, hey, things are changing going forward. That doesn't mean everyone who didn't do how you want to change things going forward in the past, they didn't do it that way because they didn't know. It doesn't mean that they should have any sort of consequences for what I believe was maybe an overall lack of accountability from the DAO in general. This is all positive too, by the way. This should be happening. It's just you can't snap a line like, okay, everyone in the past, you all have to go back and do this. We will. I don't think that's a proper ask because the DAO was not, they didn't have their ducks in a row early on. It's like, yeah, you can fix that stuff going forward, but it doesn't mean those who came prior were wrongdoers.
And also happy to do it, but it's also like there's probably reasonable, like within the DAO, like one, never ask for progress report. Two, the reason why I take some issue with this is we had members of the special council on our show who said it was too hard to do meeting notes. Like that it was too, we had them say it was too hard to show up for regular meetings. It was too hard to take meeting notes, which can be done through AI and automated. And it was too hard to have updates on their end on a monthly basis. So to me, I understand moving forward, it makes sense. But when during our AIP, I actually had an argument, I'm not going to say it, with someone on the special council where they said it was too hard to get everybody the time for all the DAO calls. And it was too hard for them to track meeting notes and too hard for them to do a monthly update, which we said would have been helpful. And on that, I said to a special council member, we track our impressions, our cost per impression, our cost per listener, our cost per everything based on the grant we got. We fulfill our obligations. Nobody's asked us for it. And nobody on the DAO at that point said that we need to provide anything. And granted, to your point, this guidance came out of February. Our AIP ended then. But it's like, it is like slightly frustrating. Like, I think it's good moving forward. And I love the new leadership. And I love that they want to actually have the accountability.
Yeah,
all of those
I understand why they're going back. Some of these they should go back on. It's just going forward, 100% of them should do this. On the look back, tackle the ones that are an issue. Like, address those specifically one-on-one, not a blanket statement to everyone who's ever had an AIP pass. That's just not, it's just, fair is not the right word, but it's just not fair.
Right. Where it's like, I think like we'll be the ones who comply and we're going to take, it sucks because we're going to take our time, money.
And the ones who are who should be held accountable, they're probably just going to say, screw you. We're not going to do that because it wasn't in our grant agreement.
Right. And that's what's going to happen. It's like, we're going to spend our time and energy on this thing, which is fine. To me, it's like, I just want to send like a blanket, like, here's your stats, right? And like basically make it as simple as possible and be like, let us know if you need anything else. But like, we went out of the way. Like, I mean, we did Thursday updates when like, you know, like Loss was traveling and we had to do it, and we did Thursday updates anyway. Like, there's things when we brought people in. So like we had multiple people on who were ape builders at various times. Like, I think we're fine in the clear. And so I don't think it's speaking to us. It's more so to your point. The reason why, like, I actually think this leadership is tremendous in moving things forward. And I actually think they're doing a great job. Like, I actually really like this current set of leadership. I don't like the fact of being like, hey, like, you're supposed to be giving a monthly progress report. By the way, this was told at the end of your AIP. Also, you had somebody from the DAO special council who said it was too hard for them to track meeting notes and give a monthly update. And you offered, you know, numbers and updates and they didn't ask for anything. It's like, we did it, right? And so I think like those things are like, you know, for most people, I think that's fine. The blanket approach, I think this is one of those things you could use a scalpel instead of a like sort of a hatchet with, because like, yeah, like I think it's good to say, like, going back to Garga Suite, I think it's good to say, like, how does this benefit the DAO versus this is a BMW that is going to be wrapped by one person who doesn't have a huge following, or this is going to be a, you know, giant gin and tonic, which I know they did at NFT Paris, but it's like, that doesn't really do a lot for the token. It doesn't do a lot for the DAO, for the ApeCoin awareness, anything like that. So I think like that is a very positive movement in the right direction. I think it's good. I actually got in a debate with somebody who had said like, oh, well, like, you know, nobody knows what works here, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's better. It's better to have this than some amorphous, like, this will be good for apes because blank, 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 right? I think it's good for us to have accountability moving forward. I think it's good for them to be running the DAO and the, you know, sort of like, even like, you know, sort of the banana bill and those things like a business in a way that they're looking at it very strongly and how it can truly help and drive and push ApeCoin forward. I like that shift. I think that is the right shift. But yeah, the retroactive stuff, that I didn't realize we were going to be in that bucket, so that'll be fun. But we'll fill it out. We'll comply. Unfortunately, like you said, like the bad actors and who, or at least the ones who maybe should be most brought accountable or have accountability are going to say, screw you, it wasn't in this thing. Us who like tried to painstakingly track data on a daily basis, we're going to go back there and be like, yeah, we're going to, we're going to pull those numbers. So, yeah, it is a interesting thing. I think the problem too they run into, Cap, and again, I'm not trying to like speak ill of the past, is that look, we said before, DAOs are an experiment. This whole thing's messy. It's tough. I get it. Like, and they're putting it together. I always had grace to a degree of points. Like, I don't have grace for people who are opaque or lazy or not, who are getting paid, who don't do certain things. But at the same time, I have grace for the fact that like the processes are tough. But like, I think what hurts them a little bit is they're coming off a process where there was no accountability to those who were running it. And now they're like, we want to drive accountability to those who got grants.
That's where it really strikes a chord. Because people, and again, it's people who are no longer there, but again, they're asking us for things that are in the past. It's at a time where the follow-up and the accountability from the people at the DAO was very poor. And we don't need to go back and relitigate, and things have changed. I don't want to keep hammering on the past, but that's what they're doing. And it's like, we went through months of no answers, and like literally, I think at one point 11 weeks went by between just getting a simple response back. And we dealt with those frustrations. We plowed through, we got our stuff done, and we did everything that was asked of us. And now we're being asked more. And again, we're happy to comply, but just that I think tone matters. And I also understand like tone could also be misinterpreted via text. And I think that's where the concern with just sending out blanket things, because there's everything's a spectrum, right? There's people who maliciously and blatantly didn't do what they were supposed to do. There's people who did everything they were supposed to do. There's people who did everything they thought they were supposed to do, but they missed a few things, and everything in between. And some of those people, there was no malicious intent. They simply didn't know what they didn't know. And like all are getting grouped in the same response, it seems like.
Which is hilarious, because like we had people cancel on us on the Made by ApeCoin Mondays, and we literally did it after our agreement to try to make up for those numbers, right? I mean, like that's the thing. Like we had a Made by ApeCoin Monday. We've been out of our agreement for like 2 months. We had a Made by ApeCoin Monday last week with Aaron, and so like I think it's like those things where it's like, we take the responsibility so seriously that when people in the DAO canceled on us or didn't show up, or people in the ApeCoin ecosystem canceled on us and show up, we did make goods. Like we did a Made by ApeCoins later in the week. We did them on Mondays. And like the other thing about it that sucks with that sort of thing, for example, is like that was part of our agreement. There are days when like we didn't hold on a Monday or we did it later in the week. So if the DAO wants to go back and listen to like to all those shows and figure that stuff out, and I know it's not specific to us, but I'm sure there's a lot of people, and maybe people don't take it as seriously as we do, to the point where we did agreement pieces afterwards because we wanted to make sure that like we hit that.
This is actually the point. Like a lot of people don't take it as serious as we do. A lot of people like just are kind of flippant about it. We are not. We take it very serious, as do several others in the DAO that they're friends, they're associates. Like I know they take it serious, and I think that in their mind they've done everything that they were supposed to do. And it just like we're not the type of people that you want to be going after at this time. Those that have done their best of their ability to help grow the DAO, help grow the ecosystem. It's at I think a critical, it's like at a crossroads, and this is all really good and healthy, but it's also a critical crossroads that you don't want to be losing or alienating some of your loudest ambassadors and those that have been supporting and done, like those that have supported the DAOs through the first couple of years are the ones that like double down on those people. Those are your loyalists. Those are the ones you don't want to lose. Don't be making them feel away. Don't be potentially alienating them because of a few bad actors that have grifted or taken from the DAO. Like address those conversations as one-offs, like address them specifically.
Well, that'd
be my feedback. There's
actually an analogy to be made here about like when in the last administration, the government went after Coinbase and Uniswap and all these good actors. Well, the bad actors kind of like flourished around because they're like, we're not even going to answer to you. And I think that and again, that's not what's happening here because they're doing a blanket approach, which is a little bit different. But it's like, yeah, we'll do that. And I know we're not the target audience for this as far as like the people who they're like going after. But to your point, like it is the reason it's toughest for us is not only did we do it and continue our obligation beyond what we needed to do, not only do we still have, by the way, we're supportive. We could have taken the ApeCoin branding out of our intro and our outro the second that we got off. We didn't. Again, like we're supporting the DAO and we're delivering beyond. So I guess like we probably, when we report back, need to report the sort of, impressions and sponsorships that came beyond like that's time frame and why there was extra value delivered upon it. And again, I know we're not the people there, but yeah, it is tough when you're like, man, I could see some people like us who are in similar situations who are like, who maybe like, and we keep relatively good records for people who are, like I'm ADHD. I'm not good at that sort of thing. It's painful for me to do. For people like us who aren't good at this sort of thing, we keep relatively good records. I can only imagine people who didn't keep records who are just doing their agreement, finding out they have to do this now. So it's going to be interesting, but I think the clawback part is going to be fascinating. And again, for us, it's tough because we had members of the council on the show who basically said, well, you guys are being more accountable than we are as a council. And I was like, okay, like that's good to hear, but it's weird to hear that shift. That said, I do want to focus on the positive, which is I think I want to like go back to Garga's tweet. I'll pull it back up just to make sure we don't we don't get it too lost in here. I do think that, this is a positive direction. Like, I guess to me, like, let me.
It is absolutely. I don't want that to get lost. Very positive direction, and I also understand part of it's like you just rip the Band-Aid off. You just got to go all in with the new move. I sense that very clear, and so for even us getting a little collateral damage and being caught up in this, that's better than the way it has been. So I don't want anything to be taken out of context here. I'm all for these new moves. I think this is a very big positive step for the DAO. And sometimes when you make massive structural directional changes like this, it's not easy. And it probably, arguably, is more efficient to just go to blanket fire and then start attacking them one by one. I get it. It's a way to do it. And I appreciate the aggressive change. And I think it's far better than the way things had been going.
I agree with that. And I like the moving forward. I kind of responded and said, this is a good shift in my opinion, but it's a pretty seismic one. Previously, proposals to the DAO just had to benefit the ApeCoin ecosystems. It was a grants DAO, which could take many forms. Like you could argue a Wrap BMW or a Giant Gin and Tonic are benefits to the ApeCoin ecosystem in some way, shape, or form. Now AIPs need to clearly answer how grows Ape, the Ape token, a more focused strategic directive. I actually had somebody in the response just basically say, want to see how fast it goes off the rails with new Rex, please drink responsibly. And I just basically said, I'm not tracking your pushback. Do you think it's better to have an amorphous set of subjective requirements or a more objective clear set of requirements? They said objective requirements only make sense when the outcome is predictable and measurable. Then they go with an incredibly fallacious jump to conclusions, Matt, where they say if somebody could say exactly which actions would grow the token and which would drop it, we wouldn't be in a fucking crypto winter like we have now. I tried to respond and keep it on the task at hand. The issue the DAO is facing is people weren't even trying. Voting to wrap a single person's BMW or create the world's largest gin and tonic, actual AIPs, are far less encouraging to see than a business returning a portion of profits to the DAO. If you believe the former has an equal chance of success in the latter, I'm not sure we're going to find common ground. I stepped right over the fact where they tried to compare macroeconomic global situations to the ApeCoin DAO proposals, which are two completely non sequitur unrelated things. To be like, oh, if we knew it was going to happen, we wouldn't be in this crypto winter. We're in a crypto winter because we're in the midst of a global trade war. As far as like the ApeCoin DAO, what Garga's saying, like these AIP should benefit the DAO and the token. That's good. Like that's good. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean like we talk about us as a sponsor. I think it's a very easy leap to say. Like I look at people in our own community, and I'm not going to call people out. They can self-select if they want, but there are people in the Coffee with Captain community who got more involved with ApeCoin after they were a title sponsor here. We got people to mint things on ApeCoin. We had people on who ended up buying we had somebody who bought Ape Solar, what was it? Like that's like a 5-figure solar buy because Jerry came on the show. Like that is a significant benefit to the ApeCoin. And so, like, I'm not just trying to pump our own tires here. What I'm trying to say is, like, it doesn't necessarily mean a business has to make token price go up. It doesn't necessarily have to mean a business has to drive, immediate funds back to it. But there are ways to show, hey, this was a benefit to the ApeCoin ecosystem. This was a benefit to the people in the DAO, and this is a benefit to the people in the Ape ecosystem. And I think there are ways to show that without it just being direct ROI return. I think that's important, though. Like, I think that's important, and I think it's important to say, like, Garga's, like, looking at this. Like, I think this is, like, the actual no more dumb shit in action.
Yeah, no, well said. I think, just to sum it up, though, I do think it's a positive step. I also don't want anything to be taken out of context. We really don't care. We're happy to provide these updates to C's points. We've tracked all this. We have all it. Now it's going to be like a couple hours of work and going back and backdating everything. I think to your point, we probably just provide one sweeping update. Here's everything we did, and not going to try to put it in monthly form, because I'm of the impression like anything we do is like a favor to the DAO, because we're not required to do this. Like, so don't say something is a requirement or was a requirement when it wasn't a requirement. Like, it can be a requirement now. Doesn't mean it was a requirement in the past. I also, there was in notes that we had 2 interviews post our thing that we never had. So it's like, you can draw a line in the sand. You can move forward without taking the same aggressive stance towards everyone who's ever submitted an AIP through the DAO. In my rant, excited about the changes, looking forward to, I've thought for a long time that most of these grants should be benefiting the DAO. Shout out to our guy Peter at Board Brewing. I think his was the first that went through where actually the DAO gets a slice of everything they bring in, and more of that should be happening. Like, we truly want a sustainable DAO. There has to be something coming back to it, and I think this is. I get from a regulatory standpoint, they had their hands tied. Now, I'm actually really excited about where the DAO is at and where it's heading, and I think it's bringing back some life to, like, okay, maybe DAOs actually can make it, can be a really, a paradigm shifting type moment. It's not going to replace traditional businesses. It's not going to replace traditional organizations. A semi-centralized, decentralized, autonomous organization, I think, is the way. I think DAOs going from like 0 to decentralized day one, that's just insanely difficult. And it's like, you'd have to thread the perfect needle. I think I'd like to see DAOs launch with more of a structure like ApeCoin is entering in now, with more clear defined leadership, accountability. Leaders are important. And at some point you can go to a totally decentralized world and things can work. In the early days, I think it's really important to have leaders who wake up and every day they're breathing, every minute they're thinking, what can I do to help better the DAO today? Not looking at it as there's 10,000 people that are involved in the DAO and it's all a side hustle. It's like one of 1,000, or it's one of a dozen different like side projects that people are doing with no one really being their sole focus. I just rarely does that work. And no, I mean, this isn't attacking any individual, but that was always my concern with the special counsel. Is it was, they were paid these big salaries, but it was just like, it wasn't their core thing. It was, many of them had other jobs, they're running businesses, and I get that, but it was, I think a board can work, a council can work, but you really need that day-to-day leader. And I think that's why I'm so excited about Cam and the role he's in. Is I like Cam, but I think the role itself is more important. And I think this thought of an executive director, I think, is something we'll see more DAOs move to as we move forward.
Yeah, it's your point. It's like, it's just, and again, I'll be redundant one more time. And this isn't meant to be, like you said, like, changes are good. I like they're going to hold people accountable moving forward. I think retroactively implementing things it's a slippery slope. But yeah, like I think it's tough. I think for me, when I just keep thinking back to that interview we had, that impromptu, when we were talking about the DAO, and we had folks who were, involved in the DAO come up, and we've done it with the DAO, we've done it with the Banana Bill, where we've been honestly accountable. We're like, we want this to succeed. We love this ecosystem. We love ApeCoin. We love the apes. Like, it's our home base, it's our home chain. And I think that's where it's like, man, when we have people from the special counsel telling us that it was too hard for them to take meeting notes and share them on a monthly basis, even like with redacted things, it's like, damn, man, like either you're not meeting or you don't want to do it. And now you're like, we expect these updates that we never asked for. Like that's tough. I mean, we can do it again because we've kept copious notes and we know what we did and we did it beyond. And we'll include that and we'll work on spinning everything up together in the added value we did and other things. And we will continue to do that moving forward. But it is, I think in the retroactive state, it's hard to say the council that didn't hold themselves accountable nor you accountable we're now holding you accountable on that. And again, on certain ones, look into it, see what happens. I'll just be curious what degree of success they're able to get in bringing anything back. If they get anything back, it's great though, because then they can be redistributed in things that truly help grow ApeCoin, truly help grow it. And I think part of it is them just saying, look, like new sheriff in town, we're going to actually make this thing work. And I think that on a net is positive. So excited for that and to see where it goes ultimately, and kind of see how they approach things. But definitely will be a fascinating one to follow if they get any funds back. And regardless, moving forward, the accountability mechanisms are good because, look, if we put in for another AIP and we get another AIP approved, it's not an issue for us to give a monthly update. Like we give monthly updates to our sponsors. We give monthly updates we give regular non-monthly updates, anecdotal updates to people who do partnerships with us on how things are going. We check in with our sponsors to see how it's going on their end. We had a call with ENS recently. Like, I mean, a few weeks ago, we had a call with ENS, led to them being on the show and doing a couple other things around big announcements. Not because we were upselling them, not because of anything other than we're like, hey, like, we'd like to just see how you think things are going. Should we do things differently? And we've adjusted some of the approaches we have based on that feedback even though if we did exactly what we agreed to ENS, it would just be the more you know through October. But because we talked to them and heard they want something different, we did something different. So we're happy to adjust and continue to do those things. Like that is very much within our ethos. So, makes sense, but it'll be interesting to see. But that said, Cap, any cleanup or things we missed? Because I know we just hit the 10 o'clock hour.
Just stay safe out there. Don't more like we're talking about. Don't sell the bottom. Don't emotionally trade. Far more important than any of that is don't do anything dumb. Like don't do anything selfish, like harmful to yourself. Things get bad. Money can be remade. It won't be the first time things crash. It won't be the last time things crash. Just, Steve and I are not financial advisors. We're also not therapists, but if you need someone to talk to, I'll speak for him. Like both of our DMs are open. If you're having a really bad day, if you think you lost it all, not sure how you're going to make it back, like touch grass. Like things will get better. This will pass. It's not the end of the world. Things bounce, and this is, it sucks. It stings, but know that it isn't the end of the world, and likely things bounce. Whether it's next week, next month, next year, or 5 years from now, who knows when we get back to all-time highs, but. If you've made mistakes, learn from them and don't just that's the only advice. It's attempt not to be making emotional moves today. Forced liquidations are the worst. People said, oh, there's going to be people, they're about going to get margin called on their stocks today. Therefore, they're going to have to sell crypto. Like that happens. And it may be happening to you. You may have to make some moves that you're forced to make today to take care of other obligations. That's, I think, different than freaking out and, oh my God, what's happening? And you liquidate your entire 401k and you pay a 10% penalty and taxes, and then and then a month from now things have bounced and you exited and paid all those penalties and fees at the all-time bottom. Like that, it rarely is the right move to make emotional short-term reactions following a crash, but it's also very dangerous sometimes to buy a following knife. So just take a deep breath, touch some grass, play some Battle Royale, MLB, if that is your cup of tea, fire off some NFL best balls, or go play some NCAA college football 2025, whatever it is that can, in a positive way, distract you from red charts today. Find your happiness there, and don't, this isn't the end. Like, none of us, if anyone says they know how this is exactly going to play out, like those are probably also the people you mute, because no one really knows. People can take educated guesses, but no one knows the answer right now. So just embrace the volatility and don't do anything. Rarely is it positive. Just do something entirely reactive to a volatile market driven by things far outside of our control. So that's all I got. It'll be a fun week. If you haven't yet, hit those reminders up top. We've got a Coffee with Captain tomorrow, one of our new favorite segments brought to you by the folks over at Beezy. We'll probably be doing that. Not exactly sure what time, but tune in for the whole show tomorrow. We get started at 8. That reminder's up top, and be another good week here. So we'll do our best to distract. If nothing else, we can just keep doing call drops for those that are getting crushed in the markets. But no, in all seriousness, enjoy the day today. Touch some grass. If you need anything, Steve and I can do our best to talk you off of hopefully nothing but a proverbial ledge. But I don't think we missed anything else other than all these the market news. It did open up red as expected. TBD what comes out of that closed door meeting with the Feds today, but it will be. I would leave you with this: if you're looking for something to consume that's not doom and gloom today, I'll reference back that Tucker Carlson Scott Bessent interview from over the weekend. It's related to the market, but it's not. I don't even know how to describe it. I actually, if you listen, I'm curious your thoughts, Steve, because it was just like it was in a weird way, almost comforting while expecting things to get worse before they get better. It's just there's some silver lining and hope that, hey, if things actually play out as they're planning, they could get better at the end of this. They should get better. If it plays out as they're expecting and planning, things should get better. It's just probably more pain before we get there.
Yeah, and one thing I actually want to double down on that you said that I think is important to about being reactionary, and a true story that I, have seen play out is I had a family member who was very anti, he's very Republican, which is fine. I'm not being a judgment call based on that because I think there's, merits to all sides and all positions with, what we look at in politics. But he was so mad that Joe Biden won the election when he did, that he said the stock market was going to crash, and he was wrong about it. And he liquidated parts of his 401k, meaning he paid taxes on large numbers that he pulled out, and then the stock market went up. And it was funny because I saw my mom, who just kind of is a steady Eddie with the stock market with money that she has inherited from her dad, watched money just continue to increase because she just said, stay the course, don't overreact, don't get crazy. And I think that there's definitely a little bit of magic in that, in just being able to take a deep breath. And, we said sometimes no move is the right move. And I think a lot of times it's important to know that. But I do know, I have heard those stories where and I have seen it play out personally where I had a family member who's like, Joe Biden's going to send us all to hell in a handbasket and I'm unhappy. And so they were emotionally upset. And then they pulled money out of their 401k. They paid a penalty. They paid a tax. And the stock market went up, meaning that they cost themselves a lot of money in the long term. So, not necessarily the direction that you want to go there. So, go ahead.
I saw Jeremy flip with a hand. We'll let him get in here in a second. And I'll just share that it's not my financial advisor, certainly not your financial advisor, but a financial advisor who's had some pretty good success in his financial advising career. In my in real life friend group chat just says, I don't want to speak too soon, but we are currently well off the lows. There are huge positive intraday reversals happening in a number of names. There will be bounces and relief rallies amongst all the volatility. Use those to make adjustments. So, from a financial advisor, it says there are huge positive intraday reversals happening. So take that for what it's worth, but it maybe it doesn't get as doom and gloom today as some might think.
Right on. Hey, Jeremy, go ahead and get in here. Let's get some thoughts before we roll out.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm hesitating because, well, firstly, I appreciate the level-headedness you guys bring, regardless of what's going on and where it's going on and how. This feels so trivial. And 2 weeks ago, I put it on my calendar. I was like, make sure to pop into the coffee space because it's a big day for us at VeeFriends. So I don't want to belabor the point, but I know that there are a lot of VeeFriends who listen to the show, and I know Steve, you're a Series 1 holder, and we are. you really hit it on the nail on the head when you were like, imagine asking people for money in this market. I kind of put a tweet out about it as well. You know, in the VeeFriends world, we're kind of off in our own little bubble. Like we're having the best time of our lives, ripping cardboard and looking forward to more shiny cardboard. And you know, frankly, like it's not about that. It's about the communities and the relationships and the experiences that we're having, and we're looking forward to a lot in that regard. I just wanted to, I really hesitated because, like I said, I had it on my radar. I didn't expect it would be such a bloody day in the markets to be doing this, and so I felt obligated to put out a tweet about how just your wellness throughout the volatility is 100 times more important, 10,000, 100,000 times more important than your collection, especially your VeeFriends collection. But we have our pre-sale for Topps Chrome, and it's a big release for us. And I don't know if you've heard it or seen about it. We don't need to talk about it at length at all, but there's a very limited window where Series 1 holders can pre-sale it. Spectacular holders can claim it for free for the next 2 weeks. And we're doing a public EQL raffle starting tomorrow. And I just wanted to get that message out there. So I apologize if that's tone deaf, you know. I just know that, like I said, there's a lot of VeeFriends who are big fans of the show, and it's a today only thing. So I hope people are making adjustments based on their purchase decisions, based on new information today, if they were going to drain their savings for shiny cardboard, because there is some volatility ahead. But it's also my job to make sure that people have the information they need to make those decisions. So today is the day for Series 1 holders, and you can just tap in on VeeFriends if you need more information about that. And thanks for giving me the quick moment to share the reminder.
Yeah, for sure. Pinned it up top. Topps VeeFriends Chrome 2025 drops May 7th, but there are a few ways to secure it early. So you can kind of see the, you know, some information up top for sure that you want to see. I know it's a big deal. I've seen Gary post about it quite a bit with some of the cards that are coming out. So I love that. And look, I mean, this is one of the things, like I'll end on this note, because I actually am glad you brought this up, because it is a very wholesome thing where VeeFriends continues to be a community that just, man, like, it's one of the weird ones. I've talked about the fact that I think that Gary doesn't get enough respect for how many people he onboarded into NFTs and Web3 and on the whole, because they, you know, VeeFriends, people forget in that 2021 timeframe when they minted, you know, people were, you know, like they were white gloving how people could get onto this. They made it really simple to purchase VeeFriends too. They used sort of credit card options there, where you were then able to get your boxes of cards that came with it. Those boxes of cards ended up being profitable. People sold them or they ripped them. Both fun to do. They have a community that continues to thrive. Anywhere you go, there's card games. VCon is electric. And, you know, things like this, it's like, it is a true group of collectors that truly love this. I mean, I am sitting with a, you know, one of my favorite items that I actually own that stays on my desk, I just grabbed it, is Teacher Katie sent me a really cool VeeFriends package for me and my kids. And one of them is this like Brave Bison pin. I love this pin. I keep this pin on my desk. I don't know why. I constantly kind of grab it. Maybe it's sort of a totem of sorts, reminding me of why I bought my Brave Bison. But I think the VeeFriends community is a great example of a group that has something they love. They have various levels of membership, where some people have a VeeFriends 1, some people have a VeeFriends 2. Doesn't matter. It's the VeeFriends community, is the VeeFam. And I don't know, like I get excited about like seeing collectors collect and be part of something and ripping packs. And had a conversation with a, you know, VeeFriends member last week who's gotten a lot of boost from Gary, who we met at the show this week, who's done pretty well for themselves as well. So anyway, long story short, I'm glad you mentioned it, because I think it's like something in this market where it's like, look, spend your money accordingly. Obviously, be smart about where you're spending your money and how you're spending your money. But I think people collecting what they want to collect is important. And I'm glad you brought it up, because I think it's part of what makes this space really cool, is that, like, I was having a conversation, like my cold open for tomorrow is going to be about art collecting that I want to do, because Pop Wonder's on sale because of this market. And I love Pop Wonder, like probably my favorite artist. And I think there is a good group of people in that community who really, truly enjoy the collecting aspect of it. And so I think it's a perfect product for this community and beyond. And it's a good way to continue to expand. And, you know, VeeFriends, cartoons, partnerships, cards, games, VCon, when, you know, I obviously taken a breath this year, but VCon, it's like, it's just a consistent
Comics.
business.
Comics.
Comics. Another example, right? Comics. It's just like, just consistency. A brand that's actually building a brand that, you know, if you wake up and VeeFriends is a kids brand or a adult brand or a combination of the two in the next 10 years that, you know, pushes good. And by the way, based on good behavior, not based on the typical things you see in Web3, based on like positive traits. If you wake up and you see kids reading about it in the next 10 years, 20 years, don't be surprised, because the brick by brick actual groundwork is being done. So anyway, long story short, I love stuff like this, and I appreciate you coming up and dropping it for the audience. And I pinned up top some more information if people want to check that out. So appreciate you, Jeremy.
Appreciate you guys too. Hope you have a great week.
Cap, anything else before we get out of here?
I think that pretty much does it. I don't see nothing. Well, I'm sure there'll be more on the conversation regarding markets tomorrow, but yeah, nothing else urgent. I think we hit on everything this morning, and yeah, hit that reminder for tomorrow's show if you haven't done so already. We'll run it back tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, that said, we'll let everyone sail off into their day. Thanks everyone who came through this morning. We will continue to be here day in and day out until we get kicked out. We're doing our best. We're coming up on 5 years this year, and it's crazy to say, but we're just continuing to chug our way forward. So thanks everyone who came through. We'll talk to everybody bright and early tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody.
Thanks for tuning into Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin. We hope you enjoyed the show, and remember, nothing we discussed today is financial advice. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.
Welcome to the future.